Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today, and welcome to episode 92 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Today, I am joined by, I don't want to give you a nickname for this week. I'm calling you Backyard Wanderer this week. What's popping this week? We're talking a lot about PlayStation, the remastered Lord Cogni.
Oh, remastered now. Okay, I see what we're doing. Yeah, it's good to be back in the realm of the Dukes, talking these gaming topics with the homie, Mr. Maddie Plays. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing quite well. It's been a frantic couple of weeks for me, and it's only going to pick up a little bit more as people will see review season, going to a wedding this weekend. Got a lot of other things on the docket that I will talk about in November. And so very excited, but also just a lot going on. So the kind of stress, right, that you're experiencing where it's like life is good, lots happening, feeling blessed, but I need to breathe after once November passes. It's getting bad.
We're in the same pocket. Like I kind of think it's one of them things like you're stressed, but it's like, if you look at overall, you're like, yo, life is good, but I'm like, yo, I'm working so hard. I'm doing all this other stuff. So I know exactly what you mean.
Indeed. But we're happy to be here. We're happy to be doing this show. We have a lot to be talking about this week, man. There's been some interesting moves up and down the industry. So we're going to dive deep into them. But speaking of deep dives, we just did one on Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Episode 88 of Defining Duke Ultimate is now live. You can get it on patreon.com/laststandmedia. A lot of you were requesting this, so we happily obliged. And I just want to say, we're loading some mighty thick rounds in the chamber here when it comes to DDU. We got some interviews on deck. We have a really cool episode already in the can with Colin talking about the state of games media. I'm very excited for that one to go out because I thought it was a very intelligent, insightful discussion from both ends of the industry and what's been going on with a lot of the layoffs here. And even in the case of acquisitions, which we'll talk about in this show, but that's in the can. And like I said, some interviews coming up. So a lot of good stuff on the way for those who listen to DDU. I always say, I want to make that show super competitive. I want to make it like must watch, must listen content. Same thing with the main show here, that must watch TV feel. I want to create it for these shows, and of course you do too. So we're on that pathway now, I feel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Ultimate is must-watch TV as far as I'm concerned. And shout out to the Ray Gun, gave us a nice perspective, as well, yes, with Edge Runners. And it was good to be a weeb for a day, just for
a day.
For a day, I can give a weeb one. I can relate, see what the young kids is talking about.
Well, with that, let's first off send some love to those impacted by Hurricane Ian. Just want to send our thoughts out to our audience. I always talk about, folks who we don't know who's listening, where they are, what they're up to. And we're hoping our show, for those who were affected by this, brings you some comfort during this trying time. Any words from you, Cog?
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is real. And shout out to the LSM family. Shout out to my boy Sephiroth, a couple of my Florida Dukes, you know what I mean? They out there going through it. And this is real. We should make sure, like, for some people, they're like, hey, we lost power for, this extended amount of time and stuff like that. It's stuff that I don't want to take for granted, and flooding and things like that. This really affects people. I know I can't go one day without, forget about like one day, an hour without power or internet. And it just goes to show you the little things and how you need to value it. So send some love to our brothers. I hope everybody's doing okay. And if we can provide comfort by listening to Defining Duke, that's what we try to do. So get your mind off. Some people actually said that, which was actually really cool. We got some love for that from ILP as well.
We'll love to hear that, and that's awesome. So thank you to everyone spreading the love, even during trying times. We hope you're all doing well, and again, that our show is a nice takeaway from all the chaos happening around the globe. Speaking of globes, let's talk about the Outer Worlds. There's a lot of globes out there, a lot of planets you can go to. The Outer Worlds Spacer's Choice Edition has been rated online in Taiwan. Hello now. Ooh. Looks like a complete edition is on the way, maybe next gen update in tow, with a little bit of the expansions packed in. What do you feel about this, Cog? A little complete edition for the Outer Worlds arriving in 2022?
it kind of makes sense, you know.
Mm,
I know they did the Series X where they had a 60 frames update, they had an HDR update, you know, at
yeah.
one point. But yeah, maybe hey, you throw some more next gen trimmings on that bad boy. Look, Outer Worlds is one of my favorite games. I told y'all, you know,
Mhm.
how just what I knew it was going to be great was the title screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And shout out to my characters, Victor Max, Pavardi. Who else I used to roll with?
Love
Oh,
Parvati.
yeah,
Yeah.
Parvati. Yeah, she's amazing.
So
Like,
good.
yeah, I was like trying to get her little date situation popping off. It was so
Mhm.
fun. And yeah, I just it's a great game, and it just goes to show you how like I really still appreciate hub world RPGs and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So package that bad boy. Murder or Iridanos is absolutely amazing. We had the devs on from
Mhm.
Obsidian on ILP for that. Absolutely fantastic writing, great atmosphere, a nice little separate piece, but still connected. So if they connect that and then was it Perils of Gorgon into one
Yeah.
thing, remaster that bad boy, then get the hype train running because you know two is coming. So I think it's
Mhm.
smart for them to do that.
Absolutely. And this is important because while we have the base game on Game Pass, I imagine this would make its way to Game Pass given its first party studio release. And that would mean people would have access to the expansions where I will start to champion them because one thing the base game didn't do well was justice to characters like Felix and Ellie. And the
Yes,
expansions focus on each of these characters. And
good
it
point.
feels like this is the complete vision of the Outer Worlds. While the original game was incredible, I still love that game. And I made a whole video just playing through the opening hours of it, saying like, "Look, why this is so good. It's just so black-hearted." But I'm excited about this, and I'm curious to see when it'll drop. But keep an eye out for this Outer Worlds Spacer's Choice Edition. If you've skipped the DLC, this might be a good time to start it because it is top tier. You know, it's in that
Yes.
category with I think of like Burial at Sea. I
Hmm.
think about what people say with Blood and Wine. It's that kind of DLC to me. Like Murder on
Yes.
Eridanos is fantastic.
Absolutely.
This is a nice surprise here. Scorn. Its release date was moved up to October 14th, so a week earlier than it was supposed to come out. Michael Smoley writes in, "Hey fellas, what is each of your guys' hype level for Scorn dropping on Game Pass next week? The art direction alone definitely has me in day one." I'm kind of building up to this one a bit. It's not number one on my list, but when I saw some of the gameplay, I thought, this is going to be a little unique, right? I feel some walking sim vibes from it, but
Yes.
creepy walking sim with
Yes.
interactables would be kind of nice because I don't want to say high expectations, but definitely higher expectations for the medium. But with Scorn, they've been very transparent with showing this game off, saying what it is, and especially when it comes to the hour count, 6 to 8 hours where I feel my expectations are firmly checked and in place, where this one can sneak up on me. But what about you, Cog? What's the feel on this one?
Yeah, I was always intrigued by it. I remember when I first saw it, I was just like, yo, what the hell is this? There's a lot of phallic energy going on here and
Mm-hmm.
things going into orifices they ain't got no business going into. And what's your man name? Geiger, the art style, you know, the whole
Yeah.
yeah,
H.G. Geiger or something.
yeah.
I'll
And
double check.
shout out to Dustin and Rhaegar and when we did the
H.R.
crossover.
Geiger. Sorry.
HR Geiger, yeah, like they were. It's funny to hear Sacred Boys get excited about that as an Xbox. Like they were really excited.
Mm.
I think I started off very high. Then I didn't hear from it, so I kind of like, all right, what happened? Delayed. So and then I'm like, all right, low hours. Not saying it's gonna be a bad game because I was low, but I was just like, all right. So now I think I have the right expectation, and I just want to see what it is, what they want me to do in this world.
Yeah.
And I think it does have a little Silent Hill energy as far as the atmosphere is very uncomfortable, and sometimes that type of horror resonates a little bit more with me than the
Mhm.
jump scare stuff. So I just want to see. I'm curious. I'm dying to know what it's about.
Absolutely. So that'll be out by our next show, where we'll be able to, or not by our next show, but after next show. We'll talk about it then. Francis Townsend steps down from Activision Blizzard. That was a name at the center of a lot of the controversy when all manner of damage was being done to Activision's public image. And she was one who was quietly trying to put it away and repeating disasters of the past. She firmly stayed in her position for a much longer time than folks expected, but now she has stepped down. So, this is, by the way, prior to any Xbox ownership. So, it seems there's some internal cleanup ongoing.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think this is. I don't expect many of that, if any of that board, to remain in place once the if the acquisition completes. But yeah, I mean, we know the history, we know the statements that were said as far as like, oh, this is just a gross exaggeration of what's going on, and this is not, true. And then obviously the reports came out, and we found out all to be true. So yeah, I don't anticipate this. This is right on schedule. I mean, actually, this is actually later on schedule as far as her specifically, but I feel overall that board is right on schedule as far as being the removal.
Good point. Good point. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk a lot about Overwatch through this episode. First, we'll talk about their interest in exploring brand collaborations similar to Fortnite. So they said obviously they wanted to fit what Overwatch 2 is, but they've taken note that Fortnite is a bit of a walking advertisement, and there's a lot of money there. And if there's anything that we've taken away from the little marketing Overwatch 2 has done, it's that with the free-to-play model change, the watch point packs, the approach here with the battle pass, they're trying to collect the bag. And when they open up the door to this here, you got to imagine like this is the plan. Like they want to become a hero shooter like Fortnite. And I think they're honestly taking a page while we look at Fortnite out of Smite's book. One thing I love about Smite, this is one of my favorite MOBAs, is they partner up with like Nickelodeon and they give skins to characters. Like you'll be able to play as Loki, but he's Raphael from the Ninja Turtles. So you get to run around as him, but have the Loki tool set and it fits that character. So I can see them going that route for sure, but I'm curious as to your thoughts.
Yeah, same thing. I think I've answered my own question as to why, Overwatch 1 is being deleted. I just think that at the end of the day, Activision has made a conscious decision that, okay, this free-to-play model is the way. We're going to talk about what's going on with these servers and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But I do feel that this is part where they specifically mentioning Fortnite, like that's the crown jewel example of why they should do it, because they're valuing, instead of the $60 purchase, they're valuing more people. Instead of the 10 million that you would sell, you get 100 million that can access it just off the rip. And then we see what happens with that. But once you get in, then it's like, look what they're going to do. Right. And that, from a business standpoint, is way more valuable than the other thing. So now, in my opinion, that's why the prime directive was delete Overwatch 1. This is pure financial. This is pure bag.
Yeah. Well said, too. It's clear as day. This one we can really park it on for a while. Fandom has acquired GameSpot, Metacritic, TV Guide, GameFAQs, Giant Bomb, Cord Cutter News, and Comic Vine for a deal that is reportedly worth $50 million. The seller is Red Ventures, who recently bought this as part of a $500 million deal in 2020 to buy the CNET Media Group from Paramount Global. Craig Hugheim writes in, "Good day, Dukes. With the announcement that Fandom has purchased GameSpot, Metacritic, Giant Bomb, and other companies, how do you feel this will change the landscape of gaming journalism? In a world where YouTube personalities get 10 times the views of these companies, what value do you think they see in these sites? I hope you're having a, my dog looks like he did something wrong, but I can't find the damage kind of day." This is defining Revan perfectly, by the way. I love Revan, but he's always looking like he just did something. You're like, what did he do, man? What did he do?
That face, I know those faces are so hilarious. We know you did something.
Yes, sir. So yeah, I mean, here with Fandom, this is a big talking point in my DDU with Colin, where we really went over the state of games media. Of course, we talked about leading in with G4, Fanbyte, of course, Future, this UK media outlet. There was a lot of layoffs we've seen, but when you see an acquisition happen, it means that a company has found value in it. Now, you'll notice that Red Ventures, there was probably real estate involved here, spent $500 million to acquire, and in their actual press release, the first company mentioned was ZDNet, and then afterwards was GameSpot. So those were like the big ones that they wanted their hands on. Yeah. And when they got them, they sold them for 90% less here collectively at $50 million, if the reports are to be believed, possibly less. Again, real estate probably plays a factor here, so we don't want to run away entirely with that argument. But they also talked about, in that same Red Ventures press release, TV Guide, Metacritic, and Chowhound, which wasn't mentioned here with Fandom. So it appears that Fandom, for those who don't know, it's like a wiki site. You can find them. When you search up any video game or movie, you'll find fandom.wiki/whatever game. And it's literally a Wikipedia for pop culture entertainment. they find value in this stuff because in 2018 they acquired Screen Junkies, which is the Honest Trailers crew. In 2021 they acquired Fanatical, which is an online video game retailer. And I think when you see these companies selling off, laying off, it does speak to the fact that they are starting to find less value in this. But I've said a lot on DDU. Not that I don't want to say it here because I do have more thoughts, but I want to get your input, Cog, because I know you weren't available for that episode.
Yeah, no, this is a good one. And I know you guys knocked it out the park. I got to catch up. It was surprising to see this. I mean, it's funny because obviously I run a media platform on lordsgaming.net, and during our kind of meetings, we got writers meetings and editorial meetings, we're talking about it, and it's just like, hey, you see what's going on in games media. Shout out to the homie Nicholas Downey, one of my senior editors here at LogNet, and the talk was, especially with the year of 2022. We're looking at the landscape, and outside of Elden Ring, which really generated like a ton of traffic and it was the perpetual force, right? Because of the way the industry played itself out and the delays of so many games and things that journalism were counting on, that really did a significant blow. And we're starting to hear the ramifications of layoffs, and it's really not lucrative. It's really tough right now, right? And I know I could just speak to my own company, is the fact that we get a lot of people who want to freelance and get their start, the opportunity. And I'm not going to disclose, but there's some people who've because of our profile that we've helped them, then they've been able to move on. And they're telling us, hey, it's crazy over here. You know what I mean? Like, and then also the style of writing that we're being told, like, they're not allowed. I shouldn't say all of them, but some of them are saying that, they're not allowed creatively to express like this. They would say like this. They were like, man, they were like, "Cog, I miss when I was with y'all guys." I'm like, bro, you getting paid. Like you made it. Like and they're like, look, it's just the energy is different. It's creatively, I don't get a chance to do what I want. Sometimes it's this robotic, what's best for the SEO, what's best for the thing, the business kind of thing. And sometimes it rubs the creatives the wrong way. So yeah, I think this is a sign as far as, journalism in general. And to the point of the question what Craig said, which I really agree, this is the rise of the influencer, the rise of the media personality, that is actually generating more traffic. A lot of times people are going to the Mr. Matty Plays review channel, and they go into Iron Lord's podcast or wherever it is because they like, what? I feel I trust these individuals. I have that kinship, and based on their body of work, I choose to get my news here, right? And now we're seeing the journalists reference the media guys for sources. It's a crazy time. It is.
Yeah, we've seen the walls really break down here a bit where you have YouTube's doing scoops and reports, and there's a lot of animosity building because for someone like me, I have an associate's degree. I don't have an impressive collegiate record at all. But someone will go to school for 4 years, get their degree in informative writing, which originally was what I was going to go to school for. And they'll, see someone like me just crack in, generate a bigger audience, and they'll be like, well, this guy didn't even fucking go to college for 4 years, and he's doing more than me. And that's just the nature of the game now. I don't think degrees define your intelligence or your ability to have input in the industry, but certainly there's animosity growing from the time invested, the money spent to get to that point versus what they're receiving. There's a level of privilege, I think, within the games media that's on display. And you're starting to see the lines blur a little bit. I pay attention to a lot of these media outlets, specifically in the YouTube space. And so I've been watching GameSpot lately. I haven't clicked on many of their videos, but I've noticed that they're starting to embrace more of the YouTuber persona in their labeling of content. And it's interesting to me because originally this was something that people like myself would get dogpiled on. You'd see people from the media take screenshots of our thumbnails. Fortunately, I've despite my stupid smile being in all these pictures, I'm surprised no one's ever done it, but at least to my knowledge, I should say. But they'll take screenshots of the thumbnails, drag these YouTubers.
Wow.
The click comes along, they dogpile them, and it's this kind of nasty rotation that we went through for a while, where now we're on the other end of things. I think it's clear with these sell-offs occurring, these layoffs occurring, that there's less value being seen in this media. It's not generating the revenue it should be. There is still value in it, like with the LogNet existing, because I think, again, that interpersonal connection is what truly matters. But you're starting to see, to my original point, the GameSpot starting to take notes from the YouTubers. Like, you got to just embrace what the wave is. Like, that's surviving, and there's a lot of ego involved in this, and some people got to look in the mirror, unfortunately, and we saw a little bit of that with G4, where you roll out these personalities. Like, come on, like let's gather around. Don't you remember all these people? And folks are like, no, like this is not what we're looking for. And it's no disrespect to them, because I know there were some greats on that cast, and I'm friends with a couple of people on the cast. Like I get it, but at the end of the day, it's a different world now. People want to, they've been burned by the media too many times, by dishonesty too many times. It's been shredded up. The goodwill is gone. And so people would rather take their chances, I'll say, with someone maybe such as myself or you or whoever else out there, and go, well, at least I know what kind of game Maddie likes. So based off his perspective, I know, I can trust his take on RPGs. He's my RPG guy, so on and so forth. And you can't get that in the media, because you don't know who's going to appear in the video or who's going to appear in the article. I remember during the IGN days, we were from Colin, Greg Miller, Andrew Goldfarb, like you knew like there was a trusted clique of guys there that, like, when I went into PlayStation coverage, it's like, I'm going to be whoever's speaking, I know knows their shit. Right. And that is a confident clique. Yes. And right now you can't have a confident clique in today's games media, I don't feel.
Bro, you nailed it. I think that's it. I think the disconnect is the distrust of games media. And then what you said, because I've had those examples. I'll go on, sometimes it'll be, I talk about Evil West and stuff like that. Sometimes it'll be the littlest game or something I'll cover, and people are like, no, I need the Lords to cover this because they're going to kill it. I know that either Solve likes this type of game and Cog like this and Attic likes this, especially Attic. He's very passionate with certain things. So it's that trust, and they know that this person is a connoisseur, at least on this subject. So if I'm a fan, boom, I'm in. And vice versa. There's been times where people know I'm not a fan of a genre. Like when we talked about Grounded and stuff like that. And they're like, yo, wait a minute. If Cog like it, and he don't like, yo, we got to check that out. Like, you're right. It's that relationship. And I feel, the last one I'll say is, I feel they could touch us on some level, as opposed to, exactly. The vibe, right? So it's that trust. And people tell me all the time, and I'm very thankful. They're just like, man, we love it when the Lords do that stuff. Keep it up. If you can't get this coverage, let us know. And it's cool. It's cool to see. But yeah, it's definitely a shift. There's no doubt.
Yeah, it's that small business feel that people like to attach themselves to, because they feel like they have impact. It's the same thing. I think of Retro Rebound as a really good example. For Mr. Matty, I'm more of like a news reviewer, so on and so forth, like modern media coverage. But on Retro Rebound, it's like, what do you guys want to see me play? And people have been saying, like, go play Legacy of Goku, play the second one, play Boo's Fury, and just, okay, let's do it. And I've been blessed that it's worked out really well, where the numbers have been fantastic. But the point being is, having that impact, that input is so key, because you're giving people what they want. And if the algorithm's in your favor, you're giving people what they didn't know they wanted. And that's where the luck comes into it. And that's what the media is having a tough time figuring out, is you can throw a 200-person staff at G4 TV and say, like, all right, let's get all the celebrities out and let's make this thing work. But money doesn't define the algorithm. No one can control that thing, man. No one. There is a degree of luck, which is why starting small with a tighter budget is always what I recommend to people. They're like, when I do consultations on my Patreon, like, what do I need? What equipment do I need? I'm like, don't splash yet. Don't splash. Even look at Retro Rebound. The camera isn't as great there. The background isn't as good there. Do not splash early. You got to build up. But these outlets feel like they can throw money. It's the same thing with video game development with Amazon, maybe Apple stepping in, like, throw boatloads of cash. We're going to figure this thing out. It's a process. Start small, build up over time.
Well said.
I'll just throw out there's a bit of a media revolution in general too. Like for baseball, do you watch John Boy Media at all?
Well, I would watch it.
You would love this. So he does breakdowns of plays in baseball. Like, remember when the guy Blyer, I think it was, the Marlins got called for 3 balks against the Mets?
Yes.
He did a full breakdown. He does lip reading too. So you'll see him like step off the mound, look at the ump, go, that's fucking horse shit. He started like cursing out the ump after the 3rd balk. And it's funny. You grow an appreciation for the sport. But the reality is they've carved their own corner in baseball coverage to the point where they're leeching viewers from, or siphoning, I should say, viewers from MLB Network. Wow. I don't watch it anymore because they create podcasts. And just like we do at Last Stand, right? We have our Xbox show, we have our PlayStation show. I'm not going to listen to Talkin' Yanks, their Yankee show,
Right.
but they have Shea Station, a Mets show.
Holla.
And I'll listen to that, right? Because they got
That's
Jerry
dope.
Blevins on there, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah, and they've assembled this kind of cast of startup talent, like what the other host of Shea Station is, Jolly Olive, which is like a guy who was a baseball YouTuber. So you have this mix of a guy who had his hands on the sport, is a vet. He's a relief pitcher who's been around the club for a while, specifically the Mets. And then you've got a guy who comes from the more fanship, deeply analytical perspective.
That's dope.
And so they have that balance all throughout the company. And then you have that small business feel at the same time. And it's worked even there. And we're talking out of gaming. So I just think it's a media thing and a problem in general. Yeah. And slowly they're whittling away. It's sad to say. Yeah. And I'm not hoping everyone loses their jobs, but it's just kind of the nature of where we've gone. And we all have to stay on our toes because who knows, there'll be a stage where Mr. Matty plays and the individual YouTubers are not the thing anymore. Where do you go from there? So it's why you always stay moving forward, thinking ahead.
I'm so glad you said that. And I know we're going along with this, but this is a great topic. It's just
it's a fantastic topic. We should
fantastic because what you're saying is what I'm trying to help my gaming brothers understand when we're talking about cloud and consolidation, stuff like that. You can't control how the industry is going to shift, right? So, for example, like you said, if at one point the game journalist was the end all be all, you went to the 4-year, you got the 4-year degree, and you were the creme de la creme of the industry. Then you see the transition, and now here comes the Mr. Matty Plays, the Iron Lords, or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So then it's like, okay, we trust these guys. The thing is, you have to be adaptable because, like you just said, let's just say 5-10 years from now, okay, boom, YouTube goes under. Yeah. You can't put no content on YouTube. So what happens to a Mr. Matty Plays and what happens to a Lord Cognito? You see what I'm saying? But if you didn't plan and you didn't think ahead about where the industry is going to go, and you're stuck in your way that this is the only way to do it, this is the pure way to do it, you will be evaporated. That's the point I'm trying to tell my gaming brothers. You gotta adapt. You gotta at least look at it. That's all. You may not like it, but you gotta look at it.
100%. We both have countless examples of where you just had to be shifty, figure it out, work smarter, not harder in a lot of cases, and you come out on the other side unscathed. So 100% accurate. Very well said. We still have a lot to go through, though, so let's get to it.
Let's get to it.
New Need for Speed. It's being revealed on Thursday, so by the time this show is live for patrons, you'll have already seen it. By the time it's out for free feed listeners, you'll have already seen it. We'll talk about that then, but I just want to make sure that folks are aware. We see it, and we will talk about it then, because we try to talk about all gaming news on this show and then focus on Xbox. Dead Space Remake. Gameplay trailer is out, Cog.
So?
Not bad.
Okay. I'm thinking, I'm like, I didn't like this.
Nah, it looks really good. They fixed some of the zero-G combat. They got the original voice cast back. Like hearing Gunnar as Isaac again. I'm like, oh, dude, wow, they got him. Like, you kidding me? That was nice. I will say, looking at this, and this could be a YouTube compression issue. The only thing I walked away from it was like, I'm excited to play. I'm in day one, no doubt. I had a dream last night that this went day one on Game Pass, by the way. So that's a really telling.
I don't know about EA when they know something hot.
No, it's definitely not happening. I imagine.
EA knows something hot?
Yeah.
Like, exactly. You can get this 10-hour trial, though.
But what I couldn't help but shake off was, as someone who just played the original last year, in back compat, granted there's no FPS boost, so this is a selling point now. They figured it out for Dead Space 2 and 3, but not 1 when the remake's coming out. But the game still looks incredible in its original form from 2008. Obviously, this game looks better, but I can't right now see the leaps and bounds that I went like, oh, okay, like we needed this. Because again, Dead Space was a game way ahead of its time. It's maybe not in the Last of Us position where it's like, did we need to remake this? I think you could justify it on a mechanical level, but visually, I thought Dead Space looked artistically as well beautiful. And that was the one point I wasn't super sold on, but I'm regardless stoked to dive back in. They've won me over, seeing it, hearing it, feeling it. I was like, all right, I'm in. I'm done being skeptical. I'll give myself over and let them have me. But I'm curious, Cog, as someone who is maybe not in that position of uncertainty with EA Motive, how did you feel about what's going on here with Dead Space Remake and the recent trailer that dropped?
Now they gonna be mad, but I was like, yeah, this is the one I'm waiting for. I was like, look at the frame rate. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
This is the one I went. I'm sorry. It's just
No,
it looked
I think people
good.
should still play the original, even
I
if this is
know,
fantastic.
but this look nice. This look real
It
nice.
does look nice, yeah.
I just say I want the new. Can I have the new? I want to start there. It just look fire. And it's
Yeah.
just hard. I look at the old one, I'm like, I know it's a purity thing, and I know I should do it. It's just like I just see that new stuff, and I'm like, I think I'm gonna wait.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, you should wait. I'll say that to the audience. Like, even though it's available on Game Pass, you should wait. And you could even wait longer because we've seen with EA Play, Dead Space Remake, without a doubt, will end up on Game Pass. Just it won't happen day one.
Yeah.
I guess never say never, but I would be shocked if it did. But yeah, I'm very excited for it. So it looks great. And again, it's coming out in January, but hopefully February for my fantasy draft.
For your fantasy draft.
Yeah. But I feel like that was the time to announce it, right? I feel like that was the time to announce it. So I don't know, but
we gotta see.
We'll
we gotta see how it's gonna play out, man. We got a couple of release dates in the bubble.
We do. All right, time to talk a bit about Halo Infinite. Some interesting rumors swirling around, but first, a little bit of a leak. 24 co-op campaign achievements were spotted online for Halo Infinite. Now, I'll leave it to the audience to go do the digging, not because I didn't want to, but simply because I don't want to ruin anything for them. Many people in our audience have written in that they've waited to play Halo Infinite's campaign till the co-op was out. So, or have you played? You've played it, right? Yeah, we did this podcast. Yeah,
I played
it. You're pointing at yourself. I was like, didn't we?
Yeah, I definitely played it. It's just legendary mode.
Legendary. Yep. 100%. So that's out there on the internet if you want to check it out. But nice to see that there will be a new plethora of achievements for us to gather as a squad.
Yeah, cool. I always love when games do that. I actually feel like
achievements just hit different.
Yeah, right. It adds a lot of flavor to it. I feel like I don't know if it's an Xbox thing. I just feel like games don't do it anymore, especially games I like. And I'm like, damn, the new DLC came out and they ain't add no new achievements for this. Like, it bothers me when it's a game I like. So yeah, I like seeing this stuff. So yeah, I'll get back in there, do that legendary the way, because that's tradition. Every Halo game, legendary co-op with the homies. That's how I've always done it. So that's why I held off for legendary single player.
Yeah. It always reminds me of a one-time thing, I feel, which was a patch for Metal Gear Solid 4 came out and it added trophies. And that was such a cool moment. I remember I bought the game strictly for that. That was when I was like a hardcore trophy hunter. I should go back and finish that game. But anyway, I digress. I want to see more of that. And on that note, I would love to see Xbox add achievement support for the older back and pack games. But PlayStation's doing it. You could get a platinum trophy for Toy Story 2. Just saying.
That's what I'm saying. PlayStation been running circles around them in this category. When is it gonna happen?
Halo Infinite, though, is we're getting the co-op. But Cog, is this the end of support for Halo Infinite? There is rumors that have been swirling around about Unreal Engine and a switch for the entire franchise to this, leaving behind Slipstream. This began with YouTubers Sean W. and former Defining Duke host ACG before Windows Central Gaming corroborated the rumor and said they're doing further investigation. So Brandon Stark writes in, greetings, gents. What's the gut check on spreading rumors of Halo Infinite switching to Unreal? Do you guys think this type of move is what really is needed to put Halo Infinite on the right track? And if so, what would be your estimate as to how long could it be before we see any meaningful changes to the game? Thanks for reading, and have your favorite game used to release characters for free, but now requires battle pass grinding kind of day. A little Overwatch shade from the LSM community.
Definitely.
Uh-oh. I'm very curious here what you think about Unreal Engine, because I have some thoughts for sure. I was talking to our friend Randall Thor about it, so I got a good discussion in with him. But I'm curious what you think about things.
Rand's the homie. Man, this is something. Like I'm when this news first came across, I'm like, I think I've ever in the history of gaming heard of something like this, where the game is already out and we're talking about a major switch from an engine, right?
And for all other entries in the franchise moving forward, like a complete move like CD Projekt Red did with The Witcher.
Absolutely. And I'm like, I couldn't, maybe it has happened, but I just couldn't remember a major franchise. It's already out, 1-2 years out, and it's like, yo, we're switching the engine now. And, at first I was like, and I heard the news, so I gotta do a little digging on my side too, see what I'm seeing, what the streets are talking. And yeah, I am hearing the rumblings. I am hearing the rumblings. And you know, from my understanding, look, we have to be, let's just look at what we know first, and then I'll talk about what I would have heard. So what we know first is LordsGaming.net did report that David Berger, and again, it's Slip Space. I always butcher it. I always say Slip Street, but it's Slip Space.
Oh, I said that too. Holy crap.
I
Thank
butchered. They kill me on ILB. It'd be like, someone wrote in my comments, Slip Space.
Slipstream sounds right.
Slipstream sound better. I don't know why.
I know it's Slip Space, but it sounds right.
I'm the same way. I butcher it. So Slip Space, David Berger, right? No one's commented, but shout out to Longnet. We put it out there. He gone. It's confirmed. Shout out to Jess Gordon for co-signing. Shout out to Brad Sands for co-signing. The Longnet, he is gone, right? So if this man is in charge of the engine, right, one would lead to believe that the engine is causing problems. We've already heard the rumblings that the engine is the bane of their existence as far as getting things out content fast and just a technical trouble. So it kind of gives me Frostbite energy during the Anthem days when the BioWare devs would say, yo, this engine, just to do the simplest of things, it's this. And that sometimes is the problem with the proprietary engine, right? Because even though you may be saving money on the license and you got something in-house, you know what I'm saying? But just to get this simple role, and now it makes sense why they couldn't do simple things with the battle pass and the monetary track, in the co-op, right? It makes sense. So now we move forward to what we hear now. So this shout out to Sean W, whatever, right? And ACG, Jazz and everything. So what I am hearing is this certain affinity thing, right? Unreal Engine is most likely going to be utilized for this, right? Now the question becomes whether this is a test bed or this is it. And then moving forward, boom, it's Halo Infinite is now Unreal Engine. The vibe I am hearing, it is leaning towards Unreal Engine. That's what I can say at this time. From all reports I have heard, they are going in Unreal Engine. So I just don't know when. I can't give a cadence as to at season this is when it's happened, or is it a thing?
So Infinite will take this is what you're hearing. We'll take the Switch.
Well, that's the question. The question is it after Project Tatanka, which is the certain affinity game, right? From my understanding, that's Unreal, right? After that is the question: does Halo Infinite have a hard stop? And then it's what is it? They call in the rumor Halo Endless or whatever it is, Halo the Endless, because hint, newsflash, spoiler, something happened at the end. Please watch, please play Halo. So if it's that, then maybe it's that. I can't confirm that part. I just don't know when. Or it's a thing where just after they continue to support Halo Infinite and then the switchover happens and Halo Infinite continues to go. I can't confirm that, but I do know Unreal Engine is happening. That part I can know. It's just a matter of when. So yeah, this is interesting. I mean, my thoughts on it, honestly, I think it's for the good. I do think it's for the good because my thing, if the tooling is that much of a problem where you can't do the simplest of things, and then the prior regime, for what we heard, was, co-signing for it, and people, I think, what's your man that was in there? Who's the new leader now? Shout out to Pierre, was it Pierre Heinz and all that?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If the team in that building were in the prior regime voicing their concerns that slip space is this much of a problem, and if what we hear to be true is that the prior regime was blocking that, and now that prior regime is gone, to me it just makes sense that is the natural progression to Unreal. I will be very curious to see how they implement it, but yeah, this is a groundbreaking thing. I'm very, very surprised to hear, but I do think it's the right thing, and to me it shows that they're committed to Halo. They're still willing to invest, right? To say Halo's not going to die. We're going to put this money, regardless of if they consider it a sunken cost on the past return of investment, and just say, boom, keep going. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. I am very pro Unreal Engine. I think it's a fantastic engine. I've messed around with it a bit. So, it's one of those things where, I think the tool set should always override the revenue split. Maybe that's easy for me to say as someone who's not working on a corporate level, but I feel like with a series as big as Halo, it performing well, will still get you paid. And the bigger problem here is how long they spent working on this thing, toiling away on it. When you look at the gap between Halo 5 Guardians and Halo Infinite, right? We're talking 2015 was when Halo 5 Guardians came out.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. And then obviously Halo Infinite came out 6 years later. Apologies. That's a significant gap, right? That's longer than your traditional development cycle. And then you combine that with the fact that they probably should have left the game behind off of Xbox One. I know that made sense for player count, but again, I feel like they weren't competitive with this game and they learned a very tough lesson. So now it's time to get competitive. It's time to take your losses because you've already taken the biggest loss of them all. So take the financial loss and go switch to Unreal Engine. If that's what's best for the franchise, mind you. That's what really matters here. If they believe, okay, even though we just set up Forge and co-op and we have the campaign and we have this free-to-play multiplayer, if they believe that that's all worth dropping to go move to Unreal Engine, because you can't just bring a game into Engine and it's just a drag and drop. That's the thing that perplexes me here a bit. I can't wrap my head around the notion that they want to take a game that they've pledged is going to be supported for 10 years. And when they do that, they're going to now move it to Unreal and possibly even can support for an even longer stretch of time. This would explain, though, the walk now, sprint later thing Joe Staten has been putting out there.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's a little more up in the air. Obviously, I trust your word, but I'm saying to me, the future of Infinite feels very up in the air. I believe that transition will happen, but I could see now what Chris was saying about just relaunch this thing. I could almost see that being a reality down the line.
What I find interesting, I want to give the YouTuber some credit, Sean W., because he was getting dragged at first. And shout out to Jez and him for collaborating and talking and working out, because Jez at first had refuted, but then they both had a conversation. They talked, and then Jez did some more digging. One thing Sean W. said that was very interesting, I went and looked back at, is remember what you just said about Staten, right? And remember that conversation when he came down, and I believe it was the announcement when split screen would be removed. They kind of made him the bearer of bad news, so to speak, right? But if you remember, Sean made a good point. He's out there reading notes about the current Halo Infinite. And to me, it is interesting because if you're currently involved with the process, it just seems interesting to me that you have to remember this, what the current thing is going on, as if they've already moved on, right? And the other thing to Staten's credit is Staten is an influencer, remember, with with Craig Face during that time, right? And was like, look, we have to delay this game, right? To me, Staten has showed he is not above making the tough decision. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there's a part of me, again, that part I cannot 100% corroborate, but there's a part of me that agrees with what Sean W. says, that they've already moved on. And remember, I'm not a developer. I don't know how easy it is to transfer assets into Unreal. I don't know if that process is simple, but clearly if the decision has been made, right, then they have weighed all these things out. And in my opinion, they have said internally it is better to drop Slipstream completely than to stay what it is as the status quo. Right. And that to me is a very interesting decision. But I want
I like the long-term commitment in that regard, right, of the engine swap and what that could mean for the series moving forward. Because to me, if the initiative is like everyone's on Unreal, that's an easier engine for a third-party studio to probably pick up. And that would say to me that they may be more invested, if I really wanted to Galaxy Brain 8, into some spinoffs, which is where I think the series needs to go. And I think Infinite doesn't need to be put down necessarily, but go away, as you say, Cog, and come back when you got the Taken King moment ready to go, like that big pop, which doesn't seem to be the play. They're going to continue to support it. But yeah, the future of Halo is mighty interesting. It's very compelling. We'll continue to track it, but a lot's happening here. And I guess the good news that you can take away from this, if the rumbling is going to tell us anything, is that they're not giving up on it.
Yeah, that's what I got out of it. I just felt good overall, you know what I'm saying, for Halo, in the sense that they're not ready to let it die. Because there's a part of me that was sad, like, if it is true, like, damn, how long is it going to be before we get another Halo game? You know what I'm saying? And maybe this gives me hope. And then I'm banking on a certain affinity. I'm dying to see how that implementation is. When I use Unreal, and just if that brings that new player base, does that become a shot in the arm to them? And then after that, let's see how they repackage it. But I did find interesting that we never got any story content, any maps. It really, it makes sense why now we're not getting substantial content between this period. You know what I'm saying? If this switch is to happen the way it is. So yeah.
We'll see though, because if there's anything that 343 has done with wizardry, it's on the technical end. So
for sure.
They could find a way to transition a little bit easier and take it in stride. But this news just broke while we were recording this, Cog.
Breaking.
Brazil just approved Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard with no restrictions. Obviously, this is a very big win for Microsoft, considering Brazil sits as a major player in the world's economy. Of course, there are still other concerns. The CMA in the UK has been a little bit concerned about Microsoft eliminating competition through acquisition. Of course, Sony, we will talk about them, has been making some flights, some flights to plead their concern. So this is by no means clear, but this is a significant milestone in a deal that should be good to go by the first quarter of next year if all goes swimmingly.
Yeah, I mean, the thought process was that, that overall the thought process I've always heard consistently is that this deal should be approved. And we'll get into the deeper aspects and Sony's involvement and all the fun stuff that we're here for. But yeah, there's breaking news. Yeah, they just shout out to Benji Sales. Just approved it in Brazil with no restrictions. There's a big market. It's big. It's big. And again, basically it's like it's a touring band. Each region now you get that support, you get that seal. They killed it, they rocked it. It makes it a little easier for the next tour, the next city you show up in, kind of thing. So this is big. It's big for them. They like that Xbox sound over there.
Yeah. So if anyone was wondering why I almost lost my train of thought during the Halo stuff, I was clicking links and reading Cog's chat while I was trying to get my Space Engine thoughts. I was like, holy shit, wait, something just happened with Microsoft.
Yeah, same thing. I'm stuttering, doing a whole bunch of things. I'm seeing the news and shout out to Log. Shout out to Log out here killing it, telling me the information.
On top of it, you guys got the article out already. Go to lordsofgaming.net.
Thank you, man.
Get that article a click.
Shout out to the team, man. They did a fantastic job.
All right, let's talk about Starfield. Steam database has been at the heart of the recent Starfield rumors, and now we're seeing a release date moved on the back end. So if you were to take a look at the history for Starfield on SteamDB, you'll see that they mentioned that the release date may be wrong, and they moved it from the original November 11th, 2022 release to now December 29th, 2023. A lot of people were perplexed when I was reading online because it wasn't December 31st, 2023, which is the typical placeholder date for most media. And I do think that's fair, but after just a little bit of research, you'll learn this is the last working day of the year. So this does sit as a placeholder. But what I thought was a little interesting, and I'm curious if you have some thoughts, is how the placeholder was not in the end of Q2, which would be the latest they could possibly go, June 30th. In the first half of the year. This does not indicate by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not pushing a narrative for my fantasy team, but I don't think this. I'm wearing the shirt. I'm wearing Barkfield right now. Check this out. I'm wearing my Barkfield shirt. I got the dogs here. I love this thing, man. And I support animals buying it. So shout out to Bethesda for that. They speak to the animal lover in me. But I'm not saying that a placeholder encapsulating a whole year means that this game has been moved back. But I did find it interesting that it wasn't putting the wall up at the second half of the year and saying before sometime within this range. So is there anything you took away from it? Am I over speculating perhaps?
No, I think you're being fair. I just think that it's a placeholder. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's just a placeholder. But it is a funny placeholder because it goes so aligned with exactly what your fantasy Xbox prediction is for Starfield. For
your message is so funny. I'm going to pretend this doesn't exist.
I'm going to act like this don't exist. I was like, come on, this does not support my argument. I have to deflect. But look, man, if it happens, we will definitely remember this day. And I'll be like, damn, Maddie got that right. Maybe the placeholder did have more to do with it. But I still think most of this is just a placeholder. And we will see what happens if it reaches the first half or goes past the first half of 2023 with Starfield.
Indeed. We still have a little bit more to go through here. Killer Instinct, the sole exclusive fighter on the Xbox consoles. Rank play, it was hacked recently, specifically impacting the Xbox version. So over on Steam, this was not a problem. At one point, players could not access the ranked play mode, but could still play in separate lobbies online. So there was some degree of online play. However, when you went to play, sometimes players were getting demoted. That's because hackers were running rampant as well. So the latest update for the game, or the last update for the game, was actually seen in 2018, but Iron Galaxy has put out a tweet saying that they have restored order, they took care of it, and that they will be looking at the hackers next. So I was surprised to see them unearth this one 4 years later. It's a small community, but they got on this right away. The tweets were going viral for a day or two. And then right away they were on it saying, hey, you can go play now. It's true. You can go play. It will no longer reject you going into ranked play. And they're going after hackers next. So I was pleased to see that they got right on top of this because the fighting game scene for Xbox is already kind of dead. So I like that they were preserving it here.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Iron Galaxy for continuing to do their due diligence and the support. You know, nothing's worse to a fighting community or a competitive community than the integrity of the game being, completely sabotaged. So yeah, salute to them. I would just hope that they could figure out maybe bringing them back for a sequel. I don't know how this works, but yeah, I need the fighting game community. I know Xbox just recently did some cool moves in Japan. The Guilty Gear series, they've not missed out on Street Fighter. They've not missed out on Tekken. So I want to give them their roses, but from that original IP that kind of they have, and to see some new IP in the fighting genre would be really cool. And I just hope they get their act together there.
Right on. Let's talk about a game that we've covered a little bit since it was first leaked. Wild Hearts, 7 minutes of gameplay. This is the game that is a collaboration between EA and Koei Tecmo, a very unlikely partnership through their EA Originals program. There's, again, 7 minutes of gameplay out right now that you can check out on YouTube. This game looks like an old Koei Tecmo game that released in the PS4 generation, Toukiden, and that was a Monster Hunter style game. But the difference there, it was very much fast paced without much tact and technique. But this gameplay, you'll see the player raises up its own pillar almost and platforms off of it and goes after the enemy. There's some real fluidity to the gameplay. It's got that Monster Hunter look and feel, but it's got some smoothness to it. I don't know. It looks like the type of game that will help break some players in for sure. So I think this is one definitely worth keeping an eye on. I thought it looked great.
Yeah, it looked really good. I'm glad you sent me this. I'm still looking at it right now too. It kind of gives me, first of all, I love the way the co-op was implemented. I thought it was very smooth. It looked cool when you brought a friend in, player two. You know what it's giving me though? It's giving me a little bit of Monster Hunter and Fortnite vibes. Fortnite in the sense that you can just build something on the fly to fight the monster in a platform. I was just like, it looks cool. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. It looks cool. The game, the size of the monsters, the epicness. They all, you know what this game was? It kind of, I don't know why, maybe I'm off. It's giving me Horizon Forbidden West energy. With
interesting. I kind of see where you're coming from there.
Look at that fight.
Oh, destructible environment too. I'm looking at it now.
Yeah,
again.
Look at that fight at around the 4 minute to 5 minute mark. And it's just the I don't know, it's the floral nature of it.
Yeah. I see what you mean.
Something is giving me the Horizon Forbidden West vibes. And it just looks cool. And then I see player 3 as a this looks cool. Look, if they pull this off, the Monster Hunter community would like a nice competitor. And the graphical, my only issue with Monster has always been like, well, on Switch, I should say, excuse me. The graphical fidelity on Switch was always my issue. But the series itself, this looks cool, man. They need a competitor in the space. And I love the co-op. The co-op aspect is what would get me in. This part right here is right. And Feudal Japan, Koei Tecmo, and EA, this looks cool. All right, go for it. So far, so good.
Yeah. I'd love to see a demo come out for this game.
Yes.
I think it'd be wise. Maybe a little Game Pass.
Let's
talk about Call of Duty. Talked about it every week for the last month or so. According to Ralph Valve of What If Gaming, Sledgehammer Games will turn their attention back to the Advanced Warfare series of Call of Duty games following the disappointing performance of Call of Duty Vanguard. It is claimed that the game is slated for a 2025 release and will bring a futuristic twist to Call of Duty Warzone at the same time. It is still expected that next year we will see a gap in the usual annualized Call of Duty cycle, with 2024 being a return to business as usual from Treyarch with their next entry in the series. This is a fucking heartbreaker, bro. I hate Advanced Warfare so much.
Really?
Oh, God, man. I know people love it, so I'm not going to speak for them, but...
Oh, wait, I'm an idiot. I'm confused.
This
Sorry.
is the jetpack one.
It's the jetpack. I thought it was modern.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is what they were trying to do, the Titanfall stuff.
Yes.
And the wall running and the...
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I don't want to get down on it before I see it, but I felt like there was a reason we only saw one. It's
one.
Because Call of Duty's a fast game. Like, I played it my whole entire high school and some of my college career. Like, it was all I played. I get it. But once they introduced these wall running and jetpacks, the map design was already bad. And it got worse because they were trying to account for all this movement. The spawns were already terrible in Call of Duty and have historically been. Again, they got worse because the game never knew where people were going to be because they just go from one end of the map to the next in a heartbeat. And so seeing that, I'm like, no, they're going to turn it up a notch with next-gen technology. You're going to be all over the place. I am very nervous for this one. And this is, the first drop on Game Pass, with Call of Duty, or one of the first, I should say. So not a strong start for the deal, perhaps, but I will wait and see. I'm willing
to give it a shot, though. I mean, I think
it's free,
listen, listen, for $3.99, I'm gonna see what's going on.
Uh-huh.
But listen, I'm with you. I did not like Advanced when they went that direction. Oh, yeah. But there's a part of me to see if they give it a second crack, like how they really could double down and fix and resolve a lot of the player issues that people had with it. So I'm willing to see what's going on. Look, I will say this, though. I know we dogging it. I'm rather this than 7 years ago. I don't want to see that no more. I need a break from that. I just need a break from muskets and bayonets and the old school tanks I just need a little break. That's it. I kind of needed to be in the modern pocket for a little bit. And then, or maybe they do it like this. One studio is the modern pocket, one studio is advanced pocket, another studio is 7 years ago. And then everyone's happy. Everyone gets one of the ones that they like in a cycle one time. Maybe that's the thing.
I think that's smart. I just hope that they come out polished because a lot of people didn't like Vanguard because it was pretty broken. Agreed. And it's still the best-selling game of the year, but I don't know if that's sustainable when you keep releasing a bad product. People will look elsewhere.
Agreed.
Xbox saved them.
Yes, please.
But it doesn't look like they're going to save SEGA from themselves. SEGA has signed a deal with Double Jump Tokyo to provide IP rights for a blockchain-based video game series called Sangokushi Taisen. The game will feature trading card mechanics and utilize Japanese blockchain project Oasis. According to Double Jump Tokyo CEO Hironobu Ueno, Oasis aims to solve obstacles for gamers, offering fast transactions and zero gas fees to provide users with a more comfortable gameplay experience. So I tried to look into this gas fees thing because when I saw it, I almost toppled out of my chair in astonishment that is a sentence in talking about a video game experience. And I still have no idea what it is. But I am not it's funny. Sega's almost like sending out a hitman. You do the work. I'm not bloodying my hands. You do the work, right? You can have the IP, but you do the work. We'll benefit in this way. How do you feel about our beloved Sega, number one Cognito acquisition target? Sega is going into blockchain. They're going into NFTs. They're getting the cryptocurrency on.
Surprising, but not surprising. It's you have to look at them as things you're going to do when you're independent to keep the lights on. And if the thing that's surprising me is that apparently they say fans worldwide have shown that they find this idea impressive and are looking forward to its launch. So I'm shocked. Like there's an audience for this. Like people are like, yo, let's get the blockchain popping. And Hey, listen,
This is a thing outside of gaming because every site I tried to look this up for on like what this was a blockchain, a
what's the point?
cryptocurrency site that is like a different breed of people, man. Like they're from
Yes.
another planet, I swear.
Yes. So I agree that the slant will be pro this game from those outlets. There's no doubt.
Indeed.
The question is this, though, and we got to ask the real question. The question is, will there truly be demand? Does this catch fire? And if they hit, we could be laughing now, right? And they found something and they first the market to, and they set a trend, and this keeps, like I said, the revenue popping and it starts to generate. That's what's interesting. I just want to know, have gamers actually caught on to this and feel like this is something they want and need? This will answer some of those questions to me. So for me, I have no interest personally, but I am interested in the result.
Mm-hmm.
What happens? Do gamers do it? Because a lot of times as hardcore, we go, no, 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 that ain't it. But the majority and the kids are like, yes, yes, yes. You know what I'm saying? So that is, where are we with blockchain and gaming? That's what I need to know.
Yeah. I think that falls to the major platform holders. I think as long as they put the barriers up, it shouldn't ever really break down into the mainstream space. But if they start to allow that, I mean, all's fair in the free market, but creates a dangerous precedent, right? And look at Sony's storefront. They just kind of let anything get posted there. You know, when you check out Xbox, it's a lot more clean. Not that it's perfect. I don't like the UI for the Xbox store, but it's a world of difference. So we'll see how they approach it over there. But for now, we'll talk about Mortal Kombat. Ed Boon, creator of the series, has clarified when the next game announcement will arrive as we approach Mortal Kombat's 30th anniversary. He said, "We know a lot of you are excited about the next NetherRealm Studios game announcement, and it will happen in due time. But first, it's all about 30 years of Mortal Kombat. That's what we're going to celebrate and focus on. Our next game announcement will be separate from MK30, end quote. It was claimed last year by Jeff Grubb that NetherRealm was prioritizing Mortal Kombat 12 over Injustice 3 due to its uncertain future with Warner Bros. That said, it's worth remembering that Injustice 3 is likely a game that does exist, given that Injustice 3 Gods Will Fall was a game that slipped out via the NVIDIA GeForce Now leak. So this is a game still out there. By name alone, I love Mortal Kombat. By name alone, Gods Will Fall. I need Injustice 3 in my life, man. That sounds fire. But
that sounds dope.
I'm curious for you, Cog, what you think about what's happening here with NetherRealm a bit. You know, I love the transparency, but when do you think we're going to hear about their next game, if not MK30?
Oh man, it seems soon. He was on Twitter. You know, shout out to Boon, the legendary Ed Boon.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I got to talk. I think I've crossed paths with him, but I would love that. He would be a great
bucket list.
Yeah, that's a bucket list. I feel like we got to hit up the phones. We got to see what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Look, Mortal Kombat 30. You know, look, Mortal Kombat. It's near and dear to me. It's near and dear to me. It changed the game. I'll never forget seeing that game in the arcade and digitized graphics at the time. Truly phenomenal. I just saw something on Twitter recently. Someone had sent me the original filming of them doing the motion capture for the original Mortal Kombat and how they did the Johnny Cage and all that. So I'm curious to see, man. I love that series, and I love how they've transcended and they've reinvented themselves, right? They went from a period when I think when they went to 3D, they were almost out of here. Like 3D, I don't remember it hitting very hard. Then they kind of went back. Then NetherRealm comes in. Me personally, yes, I've always a fan of Mortal Kombat, so I do want to see what's next for them. I'm with you though. I think Injustice, it's time, right? I think Injustice should be next up, but clearly they're saying Mortal Kombat is next. So maybe they do some type of collaboration, celebratory type game. And then maybe after that, you know, we get the Injustice. But then the fact they said shout out to Grubby Grub, the uncertain future with Warner Brothers is affecting Injustice. So then that leads me to believe, because obviously they're with Discovery, they're looking to sell. Maybe to themselves, they like, look, we can't do it from a business standpoint until the high ups get that settled. So we give you this Mortal Kombat now. Maybe that window, that 3 to 5 cycle window, things get settled, and then they can go. I think that's probably what it is, if I had to guess.
You also have to wonder about IP rights, like since it's Ed Boon's creation, if they get sold off, do they have to worry about this game being shut down? Whereas with Warner Bros, they have to have permission with all of the DC IP they use. So I think that's a major factor where until that's secured up, and that's what's kind of sad about it, is no one saw this coming. So when we played Injustice 2 back in, what was it, like 2017, we didn't know that could be the last one.
Yeah,
So it's an
absolutely.
interesting thought, and that there is
Agreed.
one clearly floating out there. GeForce Now leak has been accurate 100% through.
Mhm.
So we'll see when and what they reveal, but perhaps the
Yeah.
Game Awards.
Yeah.
This was a heartbreaker, Cog. I'm sorry. Following fans spotting that Shenmue, the animation, alongside multiple other shows, have been removed from Adult Swim's website, SVP of Anime and Action Series, which is an amazing job title, by the way, at Warner Bros. Discovery, Jason DeMarco confirmed the sad news on Twitter. Quote, sorry, guys, this happened. You can still watch all of the anime on Crunchyroll, and it will still be available as digital downloads. And yes, it's looking like no season 2 of Shenmue, even though sadly it did well enough that we were gearing up for season 2. Maybe one day, end quote. So this wasn't because of a poor performance, apparently, which was sad to see. Like, a lot of folks just want to see the Shenmue story complete. We know with game development with Yu Suzuki, it probably wouldn't have happened because he said, like, what, 7 more games he wanted to do after Shenmue 3's? Okay, dude. But in anime, a nice long One Piece style Shenmue anime was perfect for this. And the fact that it did well and they still didn't push on, something's missing in this story. Cog, I want your insight. The Sega kid, how do you feel about it possibly just ending at Shenmue 3, man?
This is the life of the Sega kid.
Yeah.
It starts off so promising. It starts off so strong. You're so pumped.
Good show,
And then,
man.
bro, the abrupt finish. To me, it's just the art mirroring the game now. And it's just like, yo, the show started off fire. You put me on. I got on the Crunchyroll. I'm doing my thing. I'm watching it. And it's just like, okay. And in my mind, I'm like, we never got look, we just got to be real. We're never getting the Shenmue story in game form completed. Love Suzuki-san, the legend. One of the major inspirations why I'm a gamer today is Yu Suzuki. Puts respect on his name. However, I have to be honest. As much as I love someone, I can be critical.
Yes,
And the
sir.
thing is, Suzuki-san, the budgets tend to be high and very ambitious. And like, I got to be real. I picked up Shenmue, on 3 on PS. I was part of the Kickstarter on PlayStation. I was in. I was one of the guys tearing at the show. I was that guy. Like, oh, they announced Shenmue, and it was okay. It was okay. It wasn't next generation defining, and I don't know if the industry has passed them by or because the budgets are so high, no major publishers really looking to commit all the way to this. So I say all that to say this, that the anime would have been the perfect way to continue the story so that the true Shenmue fans get a conclusion. We know what's going on with Land D, what happens with, you know what I'm saying? Right? It sucks that this is like this game is cursed. Like we can never get the end of how this story plays out with the Phoenix Mirror and the Dragon. Oh, it's killing me. This is my heart. But yeah, it's not meant to be sometimes, brother. It's not meant to be.
Maybe one day. Probably not.
Probably not.
Got some write-ins from the audience here. Alex Dies Twice, our next write-in, then we'll talk about what games we're playing. Hello, Dukes! Hope you're doing well. Regarding the flare-up of Final Fantasy XIV on Xbox, again, it seems that old and outdated reporting is being brought up to blame why the game is not on Xbox yet. So this is in regards to a write-in from last week, which was older than the actual article we're going to cite here. He says, last year, Naoki Yoshida stated that there are no obstacles for developing the game on Xbox and even thanked Phil Spencer, as you can see here, which brings us to a Video Games 24/7 interview where Yoshida's exact words are, there are no obstacles for developing the Xbox version. We were able to undertake development and provide our service thanks to the immense efforts that Phil has invested. For that, we are truly grateful. The sole factors are the workload and the order of steps. Now, when it comes to the Xbox version, there's unfortunately not much I can say presently, but just that we cannot work on all these steps simultaneously and need to follow the order for proceeding with these things. Since we're currently involved in the development of Endwalker and are preparing the PS5 version to follow on from these title services on PS4, it'd be appreciated if we can return to touch upon the Xbox version once things have been settled. So very important insight here from Alex Dies Twice. He continues this write-in by saying, so either he's lying or he's simply being polite to not mess with any kind of deals. that Square has with Sony. Hope you have a great rest of your day and you pick up this question to have updated information regarding this issue for the audience, which we're always happy to do. Thank you, Alex. And thank you to last week's writing as well to resurrect this issue and get the story straight, because I thought we had there was accurate, but I had never caught this interview through all my Final Fantasy 14 research.
Either.
So what are your thoughts here, Cog, on, again, we've talked about 14 to death, so if they're brief, completely understandable. But that this seems to be an open book situation. Like, yeah, we can do it.
We can do it. It's no obstacle.
Now, that was this interview, by the way. Let's go to the top.
Was a
February 18th, 2021. We are now October 2022. Still no Xbox version.
Yeah, no obstacle. Come on, we know what's going on. It's either one or two things, right? It's either, like I said, they have
Sony defensive line is squared up. Pushing them back.
Ain't no need to square. It's just business. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, clearly either someone has paid someone for an exclusivity, or, they have making that decision internally that they're going to port the game there first, with return on investment. And this is just what Square does. I'm not surprised. You know what I'm saying? Anymore. Each game is its own adventure, and each game, you don't know what you're gonna get, and they're gonna choose how they control it differently. And if there's an exclusivity arrangement, or if there is some type of financial benefit for them to do it that way, they're gonna do it that way. I just think, but I'm glad, shout out to Alex Dowsett, because my concern was initially, I remember what I said at the time was like, well, maybe, because I remember historically Xbox, would have issues, porting some of that stuff these MMO things type over from them. And he made it clear as day. This is not an issue. Like, it was literally verbatim. It's so far out in the open. This is not a technical issue. So I'm like, okay, there goes that. So yeah, it's just, look, we got to keep it real with what Square is doing. And, they have the right. But I think it's also something that we talked about the crossover episode, shout out to Colin, where we talked about, are they getting themselves ready for something? Right? Are they getting, and we know how much Sony recognizes the importance of Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
They recognize it. And that'll be interesting to see. Acquisition or some type of exclusive arrangement.
We shall see. Of course, as that story develops. Time to talk about what games we're playing, Cog. Yours interest me quite a bit here, because one of them is a little funny guy moment here. So what have you been playing, man?
Yeah, well, look, man, I have been playing something from so many hours, man. And, unfortunately, it stopped me from playing other things. And shout out to the Overwatch title screen. Brother, I've been playing that thing. I am a master. I went from 300 in the queue to 40,000, bro. Like, I'm killing it right now, man. I'm killing it. I have not gotten into the game yet.
I gave up last night. I was like,
I gave up. Next time. I'm like, I want to play so bad. The number kept increasing. And I'm like, you know what I mean? So I'm just thinking about my fantasy pick. You know what I'm saying? Like, woo,
the reviewers came out and saved you, man. That's all I'm going to say.
The reviewers made it save me. And that's what I was hoping for. I mean, obviously, we have to be true. To your point, yeah, we got to be real, though. Like, I'm 100% agreement with you that really, when it comes, especially live service, this is not my first rodeo. Like, Destiny, all live service games, Division, day one, it's hell, right? But I've never seen this. Like, this is next level. Shout out to Mikey Barr. They said they got DDoS. I'm not saying he's not saying the truth. Twice. Yeah. So then we have to admit, free to play from paid title to free to play is a whole different beast. And they just, you never know how it goes on launch day. So listen, I'm just going to keep on racking up my score at that title screen. Hopefully, I get to 80,000 in the queue, but I'm killing it. But other than that, so when that didn't work, I just threw on quick resume and went right back to Grounded. And Grounded, man.
You were zipping back and forth. I like that. It's like that. That's good use of quick resume right there. I barely use it, but that's good use.
Bro, I am the epitome of multitasker. You know what I'm saying? And like, it speaks to my nature of just jumping around. So yeah, like I went back. Man, I'm in love with this game. I'm in love with this game.
Same.
I still shout out to the homie. I got to play with you because the homies are like, I can't get a good time for all of us to be on. So I still end up playing this game 100%. So
I'm always available.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you
hours of the night.
Yeah, we got to do it because I need to experience it. Because this is what happened now. So, bro, ever since I took your advice, I was like, all right, I got me. Like, all right, first of all, I am a grounded bum. I'm a grounded hobo. Like, bro, it's an embarrassment. Like, I don't have no house. I live like, let me tell you what my situation is. You know the oak tree?
Yeah.
So the oak tree where you find gurgle and all that stuff, right? I literally have a bed out front, a cooking thing out front. Mind you, there's spiders right around the corner.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
I'm living on the street. Then I got a dew collector, or I made the dew collector now.
Okay, good.
So I wake up in the morning, I get my little canteen, I get the dew collector, then I put the excess in the big bucket, right? Then I walk down to the shore, I kill 2 little aphids, then I cook them bad boys up on the little shish kebab thing, and then I go out on my morning adventure. That's my routine. So the other thing is, I'm gonna be real with you, Maddie, I don't like base building. That's why I need a friend. I need a friend to say, come on, Cog, you're living wrong. Like you can't live like this. Like, look, this is that.
I am not a creative base builder. I'm a practical one. So we'll get along just fine, right? I'll pull up. I'll make you a nice square house. Let's just put all these things in there. Call it a day. Yep.
Bro, I'm living bad. I'm not living a good life, right?
Bro,
I'm living on the street.
We literally have an outline around this soda can that's just all chests because we refuse to clean them up. We just keep building new ones. It's just going to be 1,000,001 chests because we're just like, I don't want to clean this up. I just want to play the game.
I want to play the game. I don't want to base build. And that's the beauty of grounded. Yes. I can do this and live like a homo and go do my adventures. So anyway, now I'm like, all right, I'm crafting my little armor. I got some cool, I forgot, what was it? I got this like, it's a chest piece, but it's like, it's like giving me stamina regen. You know what I'm saying? So I got a little
spider piece, I want to say.
Yeah, I got to work on that. Now, single player, I run from the spiders, bro. I don't want no smoke. I can't be. I tried one day just trying to set it on a spider, and it always ends bad.
Did you move your difficulty down? Did you try mild?
Nah, you know what it is? I kind of like the food and the eat. It's weird. I left it. Because now that I got the dew collector,
it's still there, but it's the enemies are less like we're gonna kill you in 2 hits.
That's what it is. See, I think because my difficulty, the energy bar of these bosses, these things are so high, and me and my one little, ant club, it ain't enough. You know what I'm saying? Oh. And I could beat the other spiders, the smaller ones, the mid-sized ones, but the wolf one?
Yeah, wolf spider. No. You're an orb weaver guy right now. You beat
I'm an orb weaver guy. Yeah. I handle them. They get the business. So anyway, so this is where it is. So basically, the game's telling me I got to go find this password thing, and I got to find the other base. So for the life of me, I couldn't find this thing. Then I'm like, this little paperclip, and then it starts taking you above the map, and you start going through the trees. But
you're by the time the moment I was talking about,
it gets I started that journey in the morning. Time I got over there, it was night. And them spider webs and them, when I get scared when I see spiders, oh man, spiders is around here. They live as a nest around here. You know what I'm saying? And then during that, first my encounter with them damn stink bugs. Bro, bombardiers is no joke.
No.
You face the bombardiers yet?
Yes, sir.
So I'm doing this.
I'm in the upper yard. I have faced all of your demons, and it is not fun.
It's not fun. And here's the part. I don't know if you got to this part. There's a part. All right, so I got to the base. They telling me to find a password. I got to search for a password, but I saved it there. But here's the thing. While I'm adventuring on the ground, I found something. There's like this little device underneath a tree on the southeast part of the map. I'm like, what's this? And then you click it, and it starts emitting. Bro, when you turn on this device,
mixer,
I seen larvae start pulling up. I seen spiders start. I was like, yo, what's going on? Like, it's just little over me. And this go crazy. At first, they don't even want to, they don't even care about you. They like, yo, get out the way and we're going to destroy. They don't like this noise. They don't like this thing that this thing is emitting. So they go destroy the thing. I sat there for like an hour. I'm like, how am I supposed to beat this? Because their whole goal is to destroy the thing. They destroy it. And then I guess I got to repair it. So I have to do that with somebody. There's no way I'm doing that dolo. So that's where I'm at right now. I am having a ball. I'm crafting things. I love this game. This game is fire, bro. it is such a cool adventure game, and they did it, man. I cannot stop playing, but I have to know where you are with this thing because that's all I've been doing.
Yeah, I have a squad, so understandably, I've gotten a bit ahead of you here because the yard is separated into 13 biomes, and there's what's called the upper yard, and I just can't get enough of how creatively they built this world. Like they created it almost had a snowy area vibe to it, but it was the ash from a grill that had spilled over.
That's fire.
Yeah, and it was just really awesome discovering that there was a canyon I found, but it was actually just a divot in the dirt created by a bike nearby that's wheel spun. So I don't want to ruin the world for everybody because I know that's a lot of the discovery of this game, but I really appreciate how they built it and just how creative it is. It has become one of my favorite games of the year for sure. I didn't expect that. And part of it's because of the story.
Story's good.
Story's good. I didn't expect less from Obsidian here. And when I heard they were doing a story, I went, this is going to be sneaky good. Like I can see, not the game itself, but like the story's going to be sneaky good if you go through it. But it's not like a grind to get there. As long as you're still getting your tiers up, like getting from tier 1 equipment to tier 2 to tier 3, you should be able to just kind of go through the game at your own pace. I will say this upper yard has been the biggest challenge yet for the squad.
Really?
We're fighting upgraded enemies. We're fighting new bugs that I won't spoil. These new bugs are tough. Like their bosses onto their own. But we need to fight them to get the materials we need. I'm learning more and more. This is a co-op game. Straight up. I don't think single player is the wave here. I gotta say, I thought maybe people could get by with it. It's cool they offer it. But hearing your experience versus mine, where we struggle with the wolf spiders, don't get me wrong. But once we had 3 of us with ant clubs, that has a stun effect. If you hit them enough times, they'll just stop moving. It's like, all right, just beat his ass. Yeah. So, for me, it was very different. It was very different. We got to a point where, okay, we're all pulling up to the spider's crib now, and we're gonna beat the life out of him now. Yeah, it's like for harassing our home, we're coming to you. But speaking of which, one thing I loved about this game, man, was the reputation system that exists with bugs. I couldn't believe this.
The ants ain't feeling you right now. I kept killing ants.
Yeah.
Tell me how this worked.
Yeah, so I went into a red ant cave because we needed eggs to create bombs. So we're pulling up. We're just beating the life out of them in their own home. And I'm noticing we're getting updates saying the red ants aren't happy with you right now. The red ants would like a word with you. I'm sitting there going, I said to my friends, I pointed out, I was like, oh, look at that. That's funny. So we get our eggs, we go back, we're making our bombs, we're chilling in the soda can. It says the red ants are coming for you. I'm like, wait, what? And you see like a notification pop up, and our base got raided by a ton of red ants. And it was this moment of, I've been playing this game for 20 plus hours now, and this just happened. I didn't even know it was in the game. There's an actual reputation system in Grounded. That's another strength of the game. It's just dynamic. Just things happen. It's incredible. I absolutely am not a survival game guy, much like you, but this game is fantastic. And if you can play with a squad, have the patience to get through the early growing pains, and you are in for a treat. Really, it's special.
Hey, hold on. What did the ants do when they pulled up to the base?
Oh, they started biting the walls. They started trying to tear the whole thing down. So we pulled up and we're like, no, we got to kill them again, teach them a lesson. So, yeah, like these wars happen. When I got to the upper yard, you'll see this in any part of the backyard, but I seen it more in the upper yard where bugs are fighting each other. There's actual like faction wars happening. I mean, this shit is wild, right? Like I think about New Vegas and how there's actually a lot of DNA from that game here. Like you'll see the beetles kind of beating up on the spiders at a certain point in time. Like, no, not now. We got 2 of us here. It's just, it's a hilarious game, man. It is awesome though. And I'm so happy they got behind it. And it really symbolizes what I hope Xbox becomes, which is like, let them make the big games like Avowed and Outer Worlds 2. But I am so happy that they let them make Grounded because it is a great experience and it has become one of my favorite games of the year.
Absolutely.
Of course, I'm playing Trails of Cold Steel 3 as well.
Of course.
We're 50 hours deep, didn't even realize this. I was playing it last night and went, oh, wow. This game is fucking electric, man. It is so good. So I was already liking it because they were pulling the threads from all these other games I've played, bringing it together, and I was just appreciating the storytelling. Then there's a huge fucking plot twist. And if anyone's played Cold Steel 3, I'm talking chapter 3, there's a plot twist here that I saw. It was like, what? Like, I put my head in my hands and I just reacted physically to this. It was a legit out of nowhere plot twist. And this series is known for them, but it just pulled up, stopped me dead in my tracks. I was like, holy shit, man, this game's built different. So, been loving my Cold Steel 3. I don't know when I'm going to finish it, but I'm going to be sad when it's done because this game's been, again, electric is the word. Just every stretch has been so good.
And I love the fan service they're giving you with the nuances from the old games. That's dope.
I would say nuance might be doing it a disservice. I mean, we'll just say these characters are there. They're there. They're like in your party. They're hanging out. They're a part of the storylines. There are references as well, but it's so good. It's so good. Play Trails. Xbox, Falcom, hit them up. Get Trails on Game Pass, man. That would be huge.
Get it going.
All right, we got some warm-up questions, then the full news report. Austin Blackledge writes in, hello, overlords of all that is green and extreme. Maddie, what are your reactions to the Fallout 25th anniversary celebrations? Is your heart pulled out of your chest once more? I know mine is. Your favorite franchise is nothing more than an Xbox dynamic background kind of day. So for those who didn't catch the big celebration for Bethesda, what you'll get in the month of the 25th anniversary for Fallout, not your remasters. It's not a trailer for the movie or the show, sorry. It's Amazon Prime members are going to get Fallout 76 for free all month. The Invaders from the Beyond season event is back. Fallout 76 will be free to play from October 4th to 11th. There will be Creation Club content given away all month long. There will be one free month of Fallout First. Wow. They're doing a questionnaire to learn what faction in the Fallout world you belong in. And as Austin stated, an Xbox dynamic background. There's just one word for this, man, and it's pain. Like, I saw this and went, y'all had, baby, there was no one having, like, maybe a Fallout 5 teaser reveal, but like not even we're going to bring out the devs and just remember working on Fallout 3, New Vegas, 4, the journey we've been on, stories, untold stories, none of that. You give away Fallout 76, the stain on the fucking franchise in every way. The Fallout First, the game itself, the Invaders event. I wasn't awestruck, but I saw it and went, y'all don't get it. You just don't get it. Like, you don't get what we're looking for here at all. Like, we don't need the new game. I would love the new game, but I know that's a tough ask, clearly. But we don't even get developer insight, any retrospectives, celebrations. We're talking about, I love Elder Scrolls, right? And over time, Skyrim has sold tremendously. But we're talking about Bethesda's current money cow here, okay? Factual. There's a reason they did Fallout multiple times, 3 times since they got the IP. It's because it printed cash. And this is what they do. I think they're doing something with Fallout Shelter as well. Man, let me have a talk with someone at Bethesda. I got questions.
I feel for you, bro. I mean, you remind me of my homie. Shout out to Anchorman V2. And we used to battle. Like, he's such a Bethesda. Like, next to you, I probably don't know anybody who loves Bethesda more than Anchorman V2, the homie. And I remember, like, Fallout, and you're right, because Fallout was so impactful when it first, was on Xbox, in the sense, I remember that during Destiny, during its hey, it's a live service game. So, of course, my game was supposed to be ahead of it as far as most played. But I remember Fallout would be in the mix, and he'd hit me up, yo, new DLC for Fallout, the king is back. And I'm like, hey, easy. And we'd have this little, this little friendly rivalry, fanboy rivalry of franchise. But to Fallout's credit for it to be a single player game, to be in the mix anywhere near Destiny, in my mind, I'm like, that's impressive, even if Destiny's ahead, right? So, yeah, it's just like, it does feel tone deaf. I don't understand why they're doing this to the community. Like, like you said, at the very least, show the appreciation for the game, show some behind the scene developer insights. If you're not ready to talk about something new, okay, we get it, but show the truth. Like, to give them 76, like you said, the worst. Everyone associates that as the worst and the lowest moment.
Yeah.
So it's like, stop trying. Manny killing me. That face is like, stop trying. It's like they keep trying to force it. And it's like, nobody really like you. Nobody likes you. Keep that in the background. We understand. But the masses have kind of already spoken. Yeah. Let me ask you this. They offered it free. Isn't this in Game Pass, though?
Yes. It's
free to everybody else.
Yeah, that's why you get the dynamic theme, bro. You get the dynamic theme, bro. That's why. Don't worry, Xbox fans. We got you covered.
That's not it, man. Yeah, I'm with you, bro. I feel your pain. Because if I love a franchise and I see them doing this, it's like, yo, y'all don't really care about this. What's going on? So I empathize you. I feel your pain.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with remasters, new announcements. You know, that would be fun. And I do think the stars aligned with things that they have in development or rumors that were percolating where they could have done something. And the Great War date, by the way, is October 23rd. This is a date that Bethesda continues to ignore, but people always in the Fallout world say like, oh, this is when the bombs fell. Like, this is where they drop a big announcement, drop the actual bomb. They never do. So people are going to hold out hope for that. Some people are saying, well, this is just the first week. There's more coming in the upcoming weeks. I will be happy to be wrong, but if they had something ready to go, they would have said, and a special announcement, a special reveal, something like that, but they did not. So one of these days I'll rant about this on my YouTube channel for sure, just because rainy day topic when I feel like popping off.
I respect.
This one's for you, Cog. Jamie Bertram writes in, Vivictus Dukes. With the news of Crystal Dynamics sending out a survey about the future of Legacy Kain / Soul Reaver games, how would you guys like to see the series go forward? The survey asked about remasters, remakes, or reboots, and also what kind of gameplay from turn-based RPG to action RPG all the way to MOBAs and online shooters. How do you think the old dormant series in general should be brought back? Have your favorite turn-based RPG is coming back as an online shooter type of day. That actually, minus the turn-based part, I mean, that's Fallout 76, right? Fallout 76. I mean, that's poetic, Jamie. Thank you. Cog, this is all you. I have not played these games. I do own one of the Legacy of Kain games on PS2, but I have not played it yet. But I leave this in your hands. What do you want to see, and how are you feeling about them? You know, kicking tires effectively. The GMs are making the calls.
This hits home. This hits home. And shout out to Saul. He's the one that brought it to my attention. You know what I'm saying? Me and King, we're huge Legacy of Kain fans. Blood Omen for me specifically, because it was one of the first games that you played the villain. You played Kain, and you played this bloodthirsty vampire. And every time you kill, Faye Victus, that's that expression that comes from. I think it's woe to the vanquished is what it means. So every time he would kill someone, he would say that. And he was just this malevolent character, just evil personified, but you loved him for him to succeed. And then as the series went on, not spoiler, it's not too much of a spoiler, but Roselle and the successor and Kain got jealous because he felt so he was evolving faster as a vampire than he, and thus the series changed. But I personally, no disrespect, there's a huge Roselle, if I butchered his name, forgive me, Legacy of Kain community, but there's a huge people that love him and his games.
Sure.
But I'm a Kain guy. I like Kain. You know what I'm saying? He was that evil vampire, and I'm all about him. So I would love it to be action RPG. I'm surprised. I mean, even though I'm team turn-based, I'm going to be mad if they did it. But I think it needs to be action RPG. That, to me, represents Kain, and you have these cool abilities. You can turn into a wolf. You can suck the blood out of people in these creative ways. And it was just it was so good. But yeah, loved it. Dark game. Very dark game. And again, salute to Amy and Hennig and the crew. When I found out that she was one kind of responsible for those games back in the day, some of the best voice acting you've ever heard in games. It was like, I remember playing it on, like, this is what, that's what I tell people, PlayStation 1 is synonymous with me. These are the games that I've never seen before. And that was a PlayStation 1 game. And I remember loading it up, and he just gave you, I woke up. You ever see the movie, it's not exactly, but have you seen the movie Interview with a Vampire?
No.
Okay, but anyway, basically, it's one of those movies that while you're watching it, you're getting this voice. I woke up in the morning of a da-da-da-da. And it's just this constant very high quality vocal production and narration of what's happening chapter to chapter. It is just so rich and filled with and if you love vampires and you love lore and medieval, this is you, baby. So Blood Omen for me, Kain is what I want.
Right on. All right, let's start off with the news. Major pieces of news this week. As you can tell, it's a stacked week. We're pretty deep in the show, and we're just hitting the major pieces. But we also try to make sure we not pad out our show, but we really give a lot of attention to the other bits that happen in the front part. So you're not waiting too long for us to get into the actual conversation. So let's begin. On September 2nd, 2022, PlayStation dropped one of the most controversial games of the year. That game was The Last of Us Part 1 Remake. This is a game whose name stands as an insult to the very consumers buying it, as PlayStation was willing to charge $70 for an already brilliant-looking game that has now been released 3 separate times. Many reviewers gave the game glowing reviews, perhaps as they should have, given we're talking about one of the best games ever made. However, those reviews included a lot of hand-waving that dismissed the notion of this remake being problematic in the long term, and that it was okay because there are always new fans of the series experiencing this world for the first time. It's thanks to those goalposts being moved that PlayStation will make wise use of the ground they are given to continue to resell the game to their fans over and over. This time, if rumors are to be believed from MP first and then corroborated by VGC, then it's Horizon Zero Dawn's turn for a PS5 remake. Yes, Horizon Zero Dawn, the 2017 open world game that was released exclusively on PlayStation 4. Yes, Horizon Zero Dawn, the game that just received a free PS5 upgrade at the end of 2021 in September. Yes, Horizon, a series that just dropped a sequel at the top of 2022. The report also includes an indication of more content coming to Horizon Forbidden West alongside a multiplayer component that has been rumored for many years. Of course, Von Oren, we have to give respect to the humor here, writes, "Hey Dukes, with all the talk about PlayStation's remasters, is Jim Ryan a remaster of Don Matrick?"
Yo,
that's some
those are bars.
Yeah, that's some disrespectful bars right there. But let's get an actual question here, Von Oren. Shout out to the creative write-in. Saber Hoover writes, "Hey Dukes, with PlayStation doing unnecessary remakes and people are willing to buy them, do you think this will start a trend in the gaming industry? Thanks, and have a all my favorite games are buggy kind of day." This is the conversation we got to have. Of course, we're an Xbox show, but we are in an industry where you follow the hot hand, you ride the hot hand, you ride the trend, right? We saw us usher in a remaster remake era in a different way. PlayStation has efficiently moved those goalposts back, where now you can remake good-looking games and call it a day and charge $70. I have a lot of thoughts on these, Cog, but a lot of my snark was in the article I wrote, so I'm sure people caught my vibe, but I'll give some more context. I'm curious what your feelings are here.
I'm surprised that so quickly with this one. You know, Last of Us, I'm like, okay, man, 3 times, okay. You know, look, personally, I'll just cut to the chase. Like, I don't find value in that. I mean, game's amazing, but I couldn't justify it. You know, for me, also the factions part not being there really didn't sit with me. Now, Horizon, but to their defense, right? It doesn't matter what I think, right? I don't know if the MPDs came out already yet, but I'm assuming this did well. So
I actually might have an answer for you. Keep going.
Okay, please do. Yeah, because that's the question. Because for me, it's like, I know we dragging them, and rightfully so. But at the end of the day, it's like they know their base, and their base, the market is going to dictate the value. Period. You know, and what I will say is this: the only thing that I don't like when I hear about this stuff is what the question kind of, you know, alluded to, which was, shout out to Saber, which is, you know, does this start a dangerous trend? And I do believe there's truth to that. I do believe that, you know, the games industry is a copycat league. I always say it. And, you know, publishers will prey on the emotionality of gamers. And one thing about gamers, we talk the best talk. We talk it, but we don't walk it. When it's time and the game that you love come out, we don't care. And that's what I think. They know it. And until, you know, all of the bases kind of take a stand with their wallet, which hasn't really happened yet, unless the only way it kind of what happened, I feel, is if the product itself is bad right? And the product itself is not handled with care. And, you see cutting of corners, and then people go like, whoa, right? But if the product is still good and people are going to do it, I feel it's too soon. That's just I'm always going to stand on it. I'm like, the game came out in 2017. Again, this is not for me. But here's the other elephant in the room, and we got to be real, right? With PlayStation strategy is, why is Last of Us coming out? Big reason why Last of Us was remade 3 times is because guess what's going on HBO? Pedro Pascal. You know what I'm saying? And let's keep it a buck. It looks good, right? So the mindset from I'm putting on my corporate cog hat. I know people hate when I do this, but corporate cog for a minute is saying, if I'm them, they justify it because, look, we're going to get a whole new batch of gamers that don't know who the hell Joel and Ellie are and what Last of Us is. They're going to watch the HBO series. We better have that game ready to go so they could go pick it up on PlayStation 5 with subtle fixes and subtle updates, right? And then Horizon Zero Dawn, from what we understand, right? They're coming out with potentially a movie. From what we understand, Ghost of Tsushima is coming out with a movie. So this is the Jim Ryan playbook. You are going to get remastered up the wazoo. You better get ready. This is what PlayStation 5 generation, not all of it, not saying that there's, I know right now I have I got to shout out the whole team, lordsofgaming.net. Shout out to Flame. He put out a bit article right now on our site, and I'm doing some plugging, but it's breaking our site right now in the sense that he said PlayStation, in his opinion, is creatively bankrupt. And what he's saying is like all these actions and nickel and diming and, for the overall, money grab. But the finance guys, and remember, Jim Ryan's a finance guy. That's all he care about. And if he comes back with, you go about to tell me what these numbers are with Last of Us, and says, hey, Last of Us, #1 in MPD or the top 3. And look, you see, they cried, they complained, but they bought. And that's the thing. If gamers biting the knee, it doesn't matter that it doesn't matter to me because I'm the minority in this equation. And I think that's the playbook. The only thing I worry about, and I've had this discussion with Colin, is that the core PlayStation gamer really likes creative PlayStation, really likes, the diversifying of the portfolio. So there's going to be a big portion of that does not like this. And I'm curious how they try to appease that group. Right. But the overall mission is going to be this. And I don't see it change, especially with the aggressiveness of it. So I'm dying to hear what you got to say, because clearly you got a lot to say.
Well, to answer the question about the data, it's pretty skewed because it's only in one region. And it's not particularly glowing, but I don't think it's fair to paint it in a negative light just because we are talking about the UK in this instance. So PlayStation Lifestyle writes, The Last of Us Part 1 sales during opening week at UK retail, so this is physical copies, were half of Saints Row's, according to Games Industry's Christopher Dring. To be precise, the PlayStation 5 remake sold, quote, about half, end quote, of what Saints Row's reboot did physically at launch. Now, you got to remember, PlayStation does have a pretty strong grip on the UK region, so it's definitely worth considering that a soft launch there says something, but not everything. Right. For me, I just think it's unacceptable. I think it's unacceptable that this is something that they're going to try to sell because, again, the goalposts keep getting moved with the $10 director's cuts when you have smart delivery that exists, with the remakes, even though you just dropped a free, by the way, in a rare instance, PS5 upgrade for your original game. Like, there is the bean counting that matters, and then there is you are now blatantly ripping off your fans, because what they're trying to do, I agree with the creatively bankrupt mindset, because while PlayStation makes some fantastic video games, we're seeing a Ubisoft level format establish itself here. We got to talk the facts here, because they've made some of the best exclusives that the platform offers, they being PlayStation, of course. I'm thinking about Spider-Man. I'm thinking about Ghost of Tsushima. But the reality is all of these games, while they play a little bit differently, follow a similar open world checklist format. And it's a very safe style of game development in a day and age where it's risky, and we're seeing Square Enix mitigate the risk, taking less risks, right? They're trying to avoid that stuff, and we're seeing PlayStation do it in their own way. The reality is, Jim Ryan said it himself, we want to get our games on millions and millions and millions of screens. They want to do what Xbox is doing right now before our eyes. xCloud, smart TV, iPads, phones, hopefully breaking barriers on other consoles. You can't snap your fingers and do that overnight. You can't. The cloud infrastructure needs to be there, which they don't have yet. That's why you're seeing them retool, restructure, and they can't reach those millions of screens because they've put themselves in this corner where they've insisted, through their own fan base, by the way, this is the prestigious PlayStation 5 exclusive. This goes nowhere but this console. So they've created the narrative for themselves that this is the place you go to play great exclusives. And there is truth in that. You do go there and get a high quality experience. But for them to reach that next level, that they'll say all they want, we're not doing what Xbox is doing. They're trying to do what Xbox is doing, but you can't snap your fingers and get there overnight. And it requires money. And they can't just risk it all. So that's why you're seeing the live service initiative, the double dipping in PC sales at full price, why you're seeing the director's cuts, why you're seeing the remakes, and you're going to see another remake. It's because they don't have the infrastructure right now to achieve what Xbox has set up. I'm not trying to sound console warrior, but that's the reality here. They do not have the structure to set up where Xbox is, and so they have to find their own way until time does its thing and they're finally there, and maybe you see things loosen up a little bit. But they are 100% playing an aggressive game of monetization, and it shouldn't be tolerated. I don't know, again, if this paints the full picture with The Last of Us Part 1, but there are very few games I go, yes, it's sold like shit. But this is one I would sit here and be like, good. It shouldn't sell well because the goalposts continue to get moved in this conversation of there's a new fan coming in. Why should they, why should they get robbed of that experience? Why should the fan get robbed of money because something that's been out since 2013 is being sold for full price? We can have a new fan come in and go, oh, this new remake, $40? I never played. Why is that so hard to ask for? And say what you will about Xbox's landscape. Say what you will. There's not a fucking remaster or remake in sight right now. Reboot will give it to you. Perfect Dark, Fable, of course. Maybe, if you will, based off the naming of the game, Forza. We can go all in on reboots. But these pseudo remakes, it's embarrassing what PlayStation's doing. They should be humiliated to be a platform holder right now with what they're doing to their fans. And their fans should not be buying into this and pushing back at every step because they deserve better. They 100% deserve better. This should not be the standard being set because, yes, other companies will take note and will try to do this. But that's my tirade.
No, well said, brother. I mean, look, you ain't sugarcoating it. So I'm nice, but hey, the reality is you real. You being real right now. And respect. I look, my moral compass just couldn't accept $70 for that. Sure. I just couldn't. I'm not going to be disrespected to devs. I'm pro dev, but to me, I'm like, that's not $70 to me. So the
devs don't decide this price, by the way. Just
correct, right? So for me, it's like when it comes down, then I'll get it. But like I literally my thought process with Last of Us remake. But yeah, you're making a good point, and that's I guess to the core of my main issue. You know what I'm saying? Because it just feels too soon, and it just feels like, man, like you really charging like brand new game price money for this. And, I'll never disrespect dev effort into recreating something, but the time period we haven't had enough time to miss Horizon yet, in my opinion, for that. So yeah, the money guys are in the building and they're winning out. And I'm not justified in making excuses for it. I just always try to put myself in the mindset as to why a company does something that I don't agree with. Of course. Right? And I don't agree with it, but I'm just trying to understand. And I see why he has, ascended.
Of course.
In PlayStation. Yes. I see why now.
Yeah. The money's being made. That's what matters because they need that money to again, get to the goals that they have established for themselves. They want to see their games on those millions of screens. And they're doing it in a cool way too, by the way, with the movies, the shows. Yeah. You kind of look at where Xbox was. They were technically ahead of the curve with the Xbox TV thing. It's a huge meme, and I'm not going to try to paint it in a better light now. It was a terrible decision at the time. But now where you look at the industry and where it's at, and it's focused on TV, something like Quantic Dream could have actually been a hit. It actually could have been. Or not Quantic Dream, Quantic...
which one?
Quantum... What is Quantum the game? Break? Thank you. I was going to say Quantum of Solace, too. I was like, that's 007.
Quantum Break, yeah. They had to do it for Iceman and all that. Yeah. No, I feel you. And look, the industry, we're transcending. We just came off the Ultimate with Chris Ray with Cyber. Look what Edge Runners is doing.
Mm-hmm.
The industry is taking notes, and they want to merge this world.
Sure.
So this is this aggressive push. But to your point, from a gamer and my moral compass, like I hear you. I just because what's going to happen is people take note, they're going to copy, they want to do it, and that's what we got to get concerned about.
So that's all I personally have to say on that. Anything you want to add on?
Oh, man, you killed that.
Right on. Thank you. Number 2. Microsoft appears to have taken a bit of a step into the propaganda department. I hope the PlayStation fans are still listening, because it's not like I have nice things to say about Microsoft today either. For weeks here, we have covered the perpetuating back and forth happening both publicly and behind the scenes between PlayStation and Xbox. Last we spoke on things, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella had stepped into the ring saying, if this is about competition, then let us have competition. Following that, a noteworthy report popped up out of Deal Reporter. It is there that they say Jim Ryan has personally visited the EU on September 8th to plead his concerns about the proposed Activision Blizzard deal. Given PlayStation's continued outward push to this deal being a bad thing for gaming, Xbox has now erected an entire website outlining the transaction with a bullet-pointed list on why it's good for gaming across players, creators, and the industry itself. For players, and I copy and pasted this, by the way, so you can, if you don't visit the site, you get verbatim what Xbox's words are, not mine. Xbox says you get more games on more devices, including Xbox, PlayStation, phones, and online, with no mention of Switch, suspiciously. They then state that they offer choices on how you buy games, whether it be with subscription or one-off, and that 95% of players who play on phones don't have many options on the mobile platform. As for the creators' side of things, you may recall that earlier this year, we covered the Microsoft Store went through a change involving revenue splits, which is duly noted here. Microsoft also suggests that this deal benefits creators because there are more ways for them to get the game on screens and offer flexibility in payment systems. Perhaps the most stunning is how Microsoft proposes this is beneficial to the gaming industry at large. They claim that they're bringing more competition to mobile, where a couple of big players dominate, that this will create greater competition in traditional gaming, where Sony and Nintendo will remain the biggest, and that they will emphasize a positive work culture. Not John Cena writes in, "What's up, Bethesda Maddie and Obsidian Cog?" Hello, John. How you doing?
Yeah, Black Rock. Continue.
With the recent corporate shenanigans going on about the ABK acquisition, it seemed that Xbox has made a dedicated webpage to outline the benefits of this deal. It has many wondering if there is something going on that we aren't privy to. Many are speculating that this deal may be in more trouble than previously thought. In the chance that this deal does not go through, what is the next for Xbox and Microsoft? Do they sue? Do they try to acquire another publisher? Do they stick to the smaller acquisitions? Have a wake up on Monday morning and read the ABK deal has been blocked kind of day?
That was good. That was good.
All right, Cog. I'd love to get your thoughts on this brand new website that suspiciously in the month Jim Ryan made his trip to the EU, that Xbox said, let's make this now, right? Let's make this now. Hey, web programmers, web designers, you got a minute? Cog, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it was interesting. I think that this is a direct response. Again, the console warring is continuing on a corporate level. Mm-hmm. I feel this is a direct response to Jim Ryan. There's no doubt. This is the inadequate comments. This is also now a response to his statements that kind of said, we agree with the CMA that they're looking into this, right? Or something to that effect, right? It was, I'm paraphrasing.
We welcome
right? So
the investigation.
He's welcome. He said, yes, this is what we're talking about. Well, I'm so glad that they're doing this, right? So to me, this is a defensive move by Microsoft. Yes. But I was a little surprised by it, I'll be honest.
Yes.
So the question is it a move because they fear it is truly going to be blocked? My mindset is no, but I do feel that I think they're taking what Jim Ryan is saying seriously enough that they are dotting their I's and crossing their T's in the chance that if this campaign or this movement that is basically stating that this is inadequate for gamers, that this does not benefit players and it's hurting the industry, that they want to have this aligned, because I think what the mindset here in this region, because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, this is, you always get confused, UK or EU, whatever, which one it is. I forget which one it is in this specific case. But the mindset is that they may not know enough about gaming and the public perception about gaming and how it works. So they are putting all of this out to kind of refute these statements, right? So I do feel it's defensive. I still think they feel confident the deal is going to go through. But this is like, yo, don't be overconfident. So if there's any chance that this deal gets blocked, they did their due diligence. And the last point I'll say is this, and I haven't heard, this is just a cog theory, I haven't heard anybody say this, but this is my thought process here. People are saying to me like, yo, you know, why would they respond to that? And, you know, the deal's going to go through. But keep in mind, this is one thing people got to keep in mind. This is in reference to Jim Ryan. I know we've been dragging him, right? But here's the thing. Jim Ryan made his bones in the EU. Jim Ryan's rise and focus shift from Japan PlayStation to the EU, where he is dominant, in my opinion, you can't tell me that he does not have relationships in that region. And if you're flying planes to Brussels, right? If you're making physical trips, right? To me, you have relationships and you are going to exploit those whatever, because his job is to his stakeholders, his shareholders. That's it.
Yep.
That's all he cares about. So he's doing his due diligence for his company. All I'm saying is, look, we don't know how that region works. It's not like the United States, right? So I think Microsoft is cognizant to some level. That's why we're seeing this, right? They're going to make sure, no, you're not going to spread propaganda, or no, we are transparent on what we're doing, because I think he does wield more power than we're giving him credit for. Because think about this, he's willing to put his political capital at jeopardy, because let's be honest, Sony's getting dragged in the public space for this.
Yeah.
They're getting dragged. They're looking from a position of weakness. If you're willing to risk it, it has to be a reason. So you're going to play your hand. And I think that's what's going on here. I'm curious to see how this thing plays out. It's a very interesting thing. I was surprised to wake up to a website about the deal and all that. I was like, wow, you know what I mean? So yeah, Xbox is taking this seriously. They all hands are on deck. And to the question, if it doesn't go through, what's next? If it doesn't go through, somebody at Microsoft get fired straight up. Straight up. Like your whole existence is trying to make this deal and make this plan go through. So if you didn't close this deal, somebody's head's going to roll. Like, I don't see, that's a big deal. Now, of course, after the head roll, they're going to still try to acquire something. But yeah, this is serious. You can't botch this. So yeah, this is serious.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you put it perfectly on the acquisition front. To quickly answer that on my end, I do think that the MO won't change for them, and that they would just go look for another big publisher and just see if they can squeak that one through. Because there's a difference between getting Activision and someone like Sega. Sega's still a huge move, but they do not possess the IP that produced the capital that would affect PlayStation at the end of the day. So I think they'll still go for a big fish if this doesn't go through. I think you're totally on the money, though, on the front of this being a defensive move from Microsoft. I think we need to talk a bit about this it's good for gaming thing. Look, I think it's good that Xbox is going to be more competitive. I'm looking forward to the perks on my Game Pass subscription. But I need to circle back to a conversation I had with Hogue when this first happened. I brought him onto the channel. And a lot of people think monopoly in gaming comes from just exclusivity of content in the traditional way we consume it. Like, here's the game specifically on this box. But it can also come in the form of, this is Hoax's words, not mine, but like avenues, if you will. A monopoly in the subscription service division of video games. And there is some competition that you could argue is stripped away when you get the #1 consecutive selling game on your service day and date. Again, I'm for it. There's a lot of benefits to it. And I like a more competitive, hungry Xbox because we've seen what we get out of that. So I like it. But I think we do need to have an honest discussion that, of course, they're going to pose it as it's good for them, just like PlayStation is going to pose it's awful for them. But we need to talk about the reality, which is, I don't know if it'll create lack of competition, but no one can stand, no one in its current form before Activision, it can stand toe-to-toe with Game Pass as a video game subscription service. No Ubisoft Plus, not even PlayStation Plus. It's better than we expected, but no, it's not anything close to Game Pass where you own the full game, you have it there for an extended period of time, you play it through. When things come on, they're added free of charge, and that's what it's revolved around. And it includes the PC Game Pass, et cetera, et cetera. Like, on its own, currently, I don't think there's any competition. But Xbox has domination in cloud gaming. They have domination in subscription service gaming in my eyes. This is a put them over the top type move. So I think this site exists because they may smell some blood in the water and go like, we need to make sure we state our case clear as day here. This is good for gaming. I do co-sign some of Satya's thoughts, like, let's make this about competition. I'm about it. We're very, very adjusted to PlayStation doing their thing and no one really arguing about it. The locking down of content consistently. That is, as I talked about in our last story, their brand identity. 100,000% their brand identity. So it's a little different when Xbox comes in, but we still got to take it objectively. What they're doing will tip the scales a little bit. Not maybe in their traditional console exclusive extent, but certainly in cloud and subscription services. However, maybe in the spirit of competition, this beckons PlayStation to do day and date exclusives. But right now, I don't think anyone stands toe to toe, and we got to look at it that way. Just this site to me sends a clear message of where they're at mentally.
Honestly, I hear where you're going. Shout out to Hole. I've had conversations with him as well. I think that it's two things here. There's two things here at play. It's the gaming portion, and then it's the cloud infrastructure portion, right? And the cloud infrastructure portion, they're in a weird pocket because, yes, it's a Game Pass subscription service on this backbone that they have, right? Now, the issue comes down to the monopoly talk. And for me, my mindset is that the regulators, the FTC and all this, they look at it this is literally what this is about. Is this going to be beneficial for gamers? Is this going to make gamers, if by Microsoft having them, is this going to make it worse for gamers? And the answer is no, it's not going to make it worse for gamers because it's going to give them the choice to say, hey, yes, I can continue to play. Let's use Call of Duty as an example. Call of Duty on my PlayStation, and I don't want to play it on Xbox or whatever, and I could still have it, right? Now, granted, to your point, yes, we do know, we're not stupid. We do know that Call of Duty on Game Pass is an attractive option with Microsoft, and Microsoft knows this too, right? To lure people to their service, right? The question, this is what this is really about, in my opinion, and from what I've heard from Hogue and other people I speak to that deal with mergers and acquisition. What this is really about is Jim Ryan knows this too. This is concessions. This is what will Microsoft, because to the letter of the law, from a regulation and monopoly standpoint, there is no monopoly, and regulators feel this is most likely going to be good for gamers. But what concession do you have to give to PlayStation or whomever, Switch, whomever, right, to say that this deal goes forward? And what Microsoft is willing to do is say, we will bend the knee. Whatever y'all tell us to do, we will do. And I think Jim knows that. So Jim is using leverage like, all right, perpetuity, give it to us forever. And then Microsoft was like, nah, fam, we told you we're going to give it, and we don't want to give it to you forever. We'll renegotiate every 3 to 4 years, whatever. That's what this is about. When it comes to letter of the law, it's not a monopoly, and you can still get these games wherever you choose to get them. But I think that what PlayStation is smart in this respect, nudge this. If you can get it in perpetuity, get it in perpetuity. If you can get more blood from this,
so weaponize it effectively.
Weaponize it, because they right now are vulnerable. Microsoft got to capitulate, because here's the thing: if put it this way, if the FTC, whatever CMA says, yo, you got to give it to PlayStation forever. You think Microsoft is going to say, no, we're going to hold up the whole deal. No King, no Blizzard. Because we want to keep it for free. Hell, they going to bend the knee.
Yeah.
Jim knows this. This is politics. I still feel the deal gets through. We saw it today.
I do too,
Brazil,
by the way, on that note.
Brazil just approved, right? Yeah. That went through big region. But I just think the UK region and the EU region, a little different. They're not, I mean, I don't want to be political. Brexit and stuff happened there. Things have happened there. Sure. They're interesting. And maybe the regulatory bodies there just don't know gaming the way the others do. So now you have to, because the key date is going to be November 8th, I believe. November 8th is when Microsoft has to submit those papers, the re-review, and then the decision on that, and then at the top of the year. So we're going to get an answer to this soon. Keep in mind, what are the concessions? That's what this is about, in my opinion, and according to what I've talked to other people.
No, absolutely. I think that was very well said, and we both presented a good side of the argument there.
And I love what you said about the competition, because that's real. We can't white knight Microsoft on everything either. Like there's just all the golden reasons of why this is amazing.
I want them to thrive, by the way, man. I'm loving a thriving Microsoft. Like they've been a lot of fun to talk about, cover, and just waking up like what's going to be on Game Pass. Like that feeling is great as a fan of their platform. Just we got to call it as it is. Like I'm all for my Game Pass subscription being as valuable as possible at its current price point, but we also got to say they definitely have domination in that spot.
Of course, we're not going to sugarcoat. They're going to look pretty after this deal. There's no doubt about it. It's one of the biggest. Like you got LeBron on your team. Like you ain't just get LeBron now. You know what I'm saying?
The super team.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on to number 3 in our news and talk about Google Stadia. Unsurprisingly, it is shutting down. Phil Harrison made the announcement in a blog post on September 29th that the service would close its doors on January 18th, 2023. Google will be doing refunds for any hardware purchased through the Google Store, as well as games and add-on content. The surprise came elsewhere, though. It has now been said from those a part of the Stadia team that Google had sent no word or warning down the pipeline this was on the way. Even key Stadia partners, such as Ubisoft and Bungie, were kept in the dark on this. Ubisoft in particular was planning to bring a collection of games over where they would now be making good by figuring out a way to transfer fans' games licenses over from Stadia to a PC copy of the game as a way of maintaining their player base. Currently, Stadia's biggest title sits as Destiny 2, which is seeing 5,000 daily active players. A drop in the bucket for a game of its size, but Bungie 2 has announced that they will see to it that they do right by Stadia players. The issue is both companies don't know how to yet, and this is due to Google's stunning lack of transparency. The situation only got worse for Google following this news. In a report from 9 to 5 Google, the Stadia team canceled a pitch from Hideo Kojima for a single-player game that was effectively a follow-up to Death Stranding. Mock-ups for the project were created in 2020 before it was canceled altogether. The reasoning? Stadia VP Phil Harrison didn't see a market for single-player games. Did we in this report, Cog, if this is to be true, get a little indication of what this cloud game between Xbox and Kojima might be, right? Because they said they wanted to utilize the cloud. This is a letter of intent they signed to make a game based off the cloud. Now we're hearing details of it's a kind of pseudo follow-up to Death Stranding. Do you kind of expect that? I know the bigger story here is Stadia, but that was my takeaway. We all knew Stadia was going to die. I saw this and went, hey, do we have an idea of what this Kojima game's actually going to be? But please start wherever you want.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. We'll start with your point first. I think you're right that these were the rumors that we heard, as far as a pitch to them. They probably had first dibs. Kojima has a high, interest in cloud gaming. And I think there's a part of it. I forgot the name of the project now. It's Hellstone or something. I forgot whatever this thing is called. But now the question is, has that evolved into whatever this Xbox project is the exact same thing, or has he made iterations to it? But I do feel foundationally, it probably will fit that single player mode, and maybe there's just an online component. I'm dying to know, but no surprises here. With Stadia, I got things to say.
Yes, sir.
Look, I'm a big techie, so it doesn't matter who you are. I'm going to pick you up if I feel it's something that is a moment technology-wise. And it was. I'm not going to disrespect the tech. The tech was amazing. They were in browser first before Xbox. You know, they had the resolution, they had the 4K, they had the, you know, even though you had to pay a tier, I think it's the pro tier to get that. You had to pay a tier for the resolution of the frames or whatever. But it was extremely ambitious. And look, I'm a Destiny guy, right? Destiny was over there. Bungie took the bag from Stadia, you know what I mean? And they had, I think it was around the time the Shadowkeep. And I have to admit, like, yes, at first when I played it, I didn't notice it. As a hardcore Destiny player, I'm like, okay, yeah, I noticed it. There is a little latency here. But after about a couple of hours, I'm like, no, I'm fine. I can literally play this fine, like this way. And it was good. It's just that the player count was really, really low. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And, you know, it took, just to do the simplest of activities took forever. But I remember one of the hardcore activities was called Trials of Osiris, which is the most competitive game mode they have. And during the time, and I told you about how I went, when Destiny went from battle.net to Steam, I was very pissed because Steam, the cheaters was loose. And this is before Bungie and them could get the anti-cheat going. There was no anti-cheat. And it was bad. So I used to go to Stadia to play Trials of Osiris because, one, competition was less. Two, there was no cheating. So I was eating. So, so you got that. But anyway, I'll say all I had to say this, which is, look, there's two things here. One, Google, in my opinion, with their track record of abandoning projects and the lack of commitment to first party, they were not seriously invested. We saw the whole situation with Jade Raymond, right? Supposed to have their first party studios. She left, and now they're talking about, oh, we're just going to license the tech out to devs and let them do what they want. Then you don't even tell the devs that you're about to close down. That's another thing. And then, like, people, because there's this rumor, it wasn't a rumor, it's a report. I shout out to, I think it was Kotaku and a couple of other sources that have said that there were these closed door meetings that took place with Phil Harrison finally coming clean. Okay, we're about to shut down Stadia to the developers and partners. And one of the things that came out, people are saying, oh, it's unsubstantiated. Okay, multiple. There's a couple of sources that have said it, but okay, fine. But one of I'm just going to bring it up. One of the things that came out was that the reason, one of the factors to Stadia's closing was Microsoft's acquisition of Bethesda. And my thing is, so you meaning to tell me that because once they acquired Bethesda, you shut down. That was it. We can't compete. No, that's not true. And the reason why it's not true is because I had Stadia and I had xCloud. And when xCloud came out, shout out to the great Bill Stillwell, I went out there, I believe it was, forgot what year it was, 2018, 2019, forgot the year. But yes, they were on a smaller screen. Yes, it was 720. They weren't in browser yet. But guess what they had? They had games, and they had this thing called Game Pass, and then Game Pass Ultimate that was this infusion of all these titles on the device. So yes, they may have had the inferior tech at the time, but they had the library and they had the commitment to first party. The problem with Stadia is there was no commitment to first party, and all of this was before any acquisition. There were articles at the time with like just the announcement, xCloud has killed Stadia. That's what it is. So the reality is they didn't commit to first party. They didn't have, their subscription service didn't even have games, and they would offer like one game maybe a month. And then everything, you had to buy a Stadia version. Then it was Linux based. They just made all the wrong decisions. And then they lied on the features. I remember watching that press conference and they talk about you can play with Mr. Matty Plays and he would be able to jump in your game and the algorithm would do all these ambitious things. And let's be real, last point. I know I'm going on Stadia.
No, you're good. You're good.
Is we ain't going to act like Phil Harrison, who was a legend in the space. No disrespect. But the resume says what the resume says. PlayStation 3. Info Games. Xbox One. And now, every time you've led a project, the results have not been favorable. So I just wanted to shut down this rumor that I've seen people going on trying to utilize, they weaponize this statement of his as the reason that they're concerned about, allegedly concerned about acquisition with Microsoft is because of this. Your business model was bad. The way you ran Stadia was bad. Let's take accountability before we start putting into these other factors as to why your business failed. That's all I had to say. I just felt very struck because I was a Stadia subscriber.
Right on. And while you were going there the whole time, my camera froze, but it froze at the perfect time here. It looks like where I'm deeply listening to you.
You're deep in thought.
Because the thing is I for those who don't know, and this is important because likely means I'll have to buy another new web camera. But this was a big problem with Colin and I. And you'll see in our next DDU that I recorded in the Retro Rebound room, and it looks like I'm just in this black site. But I'm scared because right now I froze the frame at a perfect point where I'm listening intently, right? At least it looks right. However, if I unplug it, it's going to give me the Elgato camera hub image. And I'm like, do I risk it and try to reset so maybe I'm here visible for the rest of the show? Or do I just leave it? And maybe Ben, Dustin Photoshop a picture over me here instead. It's not even the image I think it's going to be. That's why I kind of want to risk it all. What do you think?
You can risk it. I mean,
all right, we'll risk it. We'll risk it. So in the meantime,
yes,
I agree with you. Stadia was ran terribly. And I do feel bad for the teams that were not informed on this, because to me, that's the bigger problem here. Everyone had a feeling it was too soon for cloud-only gaming. The reason xCloud works so well is because it's not the only way you play games. I was very surprised to read the active player base was, 5,000 players for Destiny. That was cool to see. That was cool. Yeah. Oh, we're back online. You see me? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yep. You in the building.
All right, cool. This will probably freeze on me momentarily, but we'll give it a shot. Anyway.
No doubt.
It's no surprise to me that it died, but I do feel bad for the teams that did work on it. There was a lot of shifting staff there, a lot of teams that eventually left. And you did mention there's like a common denominator in the problem there, which was Phil Harrison, and these projects continued to cycle out of there and nothing was getting done. So I do think, again, the writing was really on the wall here, where we will eventually get to this point where streaming games, probably through Xbox Game Pass, is a popular thing. I just don't think we're there yet. And I don't, it's about the Xbox TV thing, right? We might talk in 10 years time about how, wow, Google Stadia was ahead of its time. Just like we could say that with Xbox TV and their focus on that, because now look at where the industry is, right? With TV, movies, shows, and how it builds their brands. We might say the same thing about Google Stadia, but the reality is a lot of this is about, we talked about this with the media, timing, luck.
Preach.
There is a factor even in business, right? There's a factor there that we must consider, and the timing isn't right. The fans aren't ready. And I don't think that was too tough to figure out if you're in the gaming space, but that's where you get a company like Google, Amazon, who tries to submerge themselves and throw their cash at every problem. It can work itself out through brute force, but most times in a creative space like this, it won't. So I echo a lot of your thoughts here, so I won't drag us along any further, but please go on.
One last point, because you nailed the most important part that I forgot to mention, which was the death nail was literally them saying this is the only way to play, that traditional and native gaming is not an option. And xCloud offered the ability. Native, you could still play it, or you can stream it. Not that you are forced to stream games only. That was the death nail, because a lot of gamers are not going to do that. And to your point, you know what I'm saying? The technology is still not there for every game type, every genre. So that's what I wanted to say. Yeah, that was the key point I literally forgot to say, which was literally.
You had so many other bars. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, remember they had, bro, I remember that press, bro. We have more teraflops than the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 combined. This is the only definitive way to play games. I'm like, yo, this is.
They said that. I mean, that's the thing. I was checked out right away. I didn't even look into this. You bought this, right? You got, yeah. So I was like, no, I'm okay. I'm fine.
Because I had to try to tech. But shout out to Raygun. Because literally you were streaming into the highest level PC. So games like Cyberpunk actually played amazing on Stadia, because you were streaming into like a 2080 Ti, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? The best version, whatever. But that was the death nail. The point you made, saying that this is the only way to ingest our content, and this is the future, and that's it. Get in or get out. That was it.
Absolutely. With that, we move on to number 4, where there's a lot of content coming from CD Projekt Red. They've enjoyed quite the resurgence in 2022, thanks to both edge runners and the plethora of updates landing in Cyberpunk 2077. Cyberpunk's future was uncertain to many, as the game sold well enough, but fell way below investor projections and cratered the company's stock value. The plan was originally to bring a multiplayer experience to Cyberpunk alongside as much DLC as we saw for The Witcher 3. But following the catastrophic launch, it seemed all we would get after some of the more free updates would be the Phantom Liberty expansion next year. Now CD Projekt Red has revealed the long-term vision to their investors and fans by announcing the slew of brand new games. Firstly is Orion. Same thing here, by the way, with what I did with the Microsoft website. I'm going to copy and paste the words so it's there from CD Projekt Red and not my spin on it. Orion is a code name for the next Cyberpunk game, which will take the Cyberpunk franchise further and continue harnessing the potential of this dark future universe. That's all for Cyberpunk. The rest includes a ton of Witcher focus and even a brand new IP. Starting off with Polaris. Polaris is a code name for the next installment in the Witcher series of games, which was a recently announced one in pre-production. It is the beginning of a new saga that CD Projekt Red aims to release with 2 more Witcher games after Polaris, creating a new AAA RPG trilogy. Canis Majoris is a full-fledged Witcher game, separate to the new Witcher saga, starting with Polaris. It will be developed by an external studio headed by experienced developers who have worked on past Witcher games. Sirius is a code name for the game developed by the newly acquired Molasses Flood. It is set in the Witcher universe and created with support from CD Projekt Red. It will differ from their past productions, offering multiplayer gameplay on top of a single-player experience, including a campaign with quests and a story. CD Projekt Red has stated that they wish to get the next saga of Witcher games out within the next 6 years. That would mean 3 full-fledged Witcher games will be dropping in that period, which is a sizable promise to make given how their previous launch went. Lastly is Hater. Hater is a code name for a third, entirely distinct IP created from scratch within CD Projekt Red. The project is in the earliest stages of the creative process, which means they are not developing any of the game yet, but working exclusively on the foundation for this new setting. This isn't all. CD Projekt Red is seeing some structural change as joint CEO Marcin Nowinski will be stepping down. Marcin Nowinski has been with the company for almost 30 years. And if you don't recognize that name, he's the one who was in the Commitment to Quality video. He will now be transitioning to chairman of CD Projekt's supervisory board. While they may have lost the CEO, CD Projekt Red also confirmed that the core Cyberpunk 2077 team will be heading to Boston, where quest director Pal Sasko will be tasked with driving the North American team forward as they toil away on the Cyberpunk sequel. David Rector writes in, "Hey Dukes, just want to hear your thoughts on all the CD Projekt Red announcements. Do you think it is wise to announce so many games all at once? The Mets just got swept by the Braves and are not going to win the NL East kind of day." I had Mets gear laid out ready for this show, and I couldn't do it. So I put on my Barkfield shirt. But Cog, I mean, a lot to take in here, a lot to think about when it comes to CD Projekt Red, all the projects they have on deck. Do you smell that they're laying this out for investors maybe? Like, hey, we lost some trust. Here's the game plan. What are your thoughts on what CD Projekt Red is going for here? Because they made a lot of promises, which is the exact opposite of what we thought they would do next.
Yeah, no, good point. Good point. Yeah, I think it's probably for the investors. I don't think it is for us in the sense of, trying to get excited for a future. I think they figure the timing is probably good now when they have a lot of positive capital with edge runners and the thing that's going on, the turnaround, right? We're starting to see positive energy towards Cyberpunk as a result of it. Look, it's ambitious. We're not going to sugarcoat this. This is extremely ambitious. Selfishly, all I care about is Orion right now. No disrespect to the Witcher series, but I'm happy to know that the Cyberpunk universe is going to continue. I think they have learned some valuable lessons with 2077. I think that past gen support probably we see with project. What's the name of the new project of the current CD? The new expansion for Cyberpunk that's coming out. Phantom Liberty. Thank you. Yes, we see that that's already starting the whole past gen, you out of here, right?
Yeah.
So I think they learned some valuable lessons there. My only concerns here is I'm getting a lot of Assassin's Creed-like energy with Witcher. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. They recognize what the cash cow is, and I get it.
Yes.
But now it's like, okay, I always worry when a company knows they have something, and then they have we're going to give you 4
They just did a mobile game, by the way, too.
Right. And I get it. It's business, and you got to get the shareholders excited. My only concern is the quality of all of these games and how you integrate. Yes, If anybody could do it, it's them. But you just came off of the fiasco, and I just want to make sure you got all your I's dotted, your T's crossed. So we'll see. I'm pulling for them, but yeah, I'm not going to sugarcoat. This is super ambitious. There's a lot going on here. And then a multiplayer game, like you trying to really, and then there's going to be one. I am excited about a new IP, though. I will say that. I am excited about a new IP, not Witcher, not CD Projekt Red. But I'm concerned more about the Witcher stuff because it's like, you're going to get a sequel. You get a Geralt game. You're going to get a game that's in the universe. There's a lot going on. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I completely agree. If I were to, outside of Cyberpunk Orion, which I'm super excited about, if there's anything that I saw and went, oh, hell yeah, it's that they're not going to give up on that universe because there was so much there, so much potential. The game, I think, nailed a lot of it, contrary to popular belief. The show gave us a new angle on cyber psychos, as we talked about in our spoiler cast, and really highlighted how dense and deep and dark. Yeah, right. Adam Smasher, man.
I'm looking for you, son.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just a deep, dark world. So to know that they're not going to give up on it is good, because to see the game has passed 20 million sales despite everything it went through. I know 8 million of those came ahead of the launch through just pre-orders. But to see that after everything that happened, most games don't smell a million sales. 12 million sales since launch is very good. And then a lot of that's being propelled by the player base hanging with it, believing in it. Edge Runners doing its thing, giving them probably another surge in sales. So to me, I'm just happy they realized and turned it around, because at first I was calling like, do more support for 2077. Y'all are just getting to that point where we feel like this is what we always wanted. Like, I love the game at launch, but this is what we wanted. But now, knowing there's more in the future, I feel like Phantom Liberty, because it's next gen only. Remember, it's next gen only. That's going to be the display piece, I think, to say, look what we did. Look what can be with Cyberpunk. And it gives them that room to say, like, hey, we delivered, hopefully. And that when we bring out our next game, they can really blow our socks off.
I'm glad you said that. I'm just going to interrupt for a second, because that's what's giving me Halo Infinite energy. And I feel that there's a part of CD Projekt Red that knew what the constraints were and what really caused the problems. So now if you cut it off, and maybe from Halo standpoint, they like, yo, Slip Space, you got to cut you off, because then we could really show you what this game could do. And I think there's a slight parallel. I just wanted to mention that because I'm so with you on your analogy with the Phantom game, which Phantom Liberty, for them getting rid of. I think they know it was a constraint, and they have to go forward.
Because now we're going to see, originally this was supposed to be next gen only and come out in 2022, which is when the next gen version drops. So they were kind of on time with everything, technically speaking. But now we're going to get a feel for what Cyberpunk truly could have been, and pay close attention to this expansion. I know people will be, but make sure you do, because again, it will paint the picture of what the future of that franchise can look like, even if it's just an expansion. And CD Projekt Red always kills it with DLC. I have full confidence in this one. But for me, otherwise, the ones I'm marking down, Polaris, I'm excited to see a new Witcher trilogy. I love Geralt, but I'm curious what they're going to do next. And then actually the Molasses Flood game. They've always been, some of the stuff that was shown here, discussed here, was already things that we've either covered in this show, I've covered on my personal YouTube channel, or I've seen circulated. Molasses Flood was one of their newly acquired studios. They made Drake Hollow, which was a multiplayer style game that actually launched in Game Pass and was an Xbox exclusive at one point. This seems in their wheelhouse. When you saw Drake Hollow, my initial prediction was they're going to work with something in The Witcher. It just feels like that's the fit. But as we got deeper into Cyberpunk and we saw Edge Runners succeed, I went, maybe they actually put them on Cyberpunk, because thinking about it now, they could build things up with smaller pieces, because that's what they said in a recent investors meeting, was like, oh, we want to do more different media type things for Cyberpunk. So I was thinking maybe that's what would happen. So I'm curious to see what Molasses Flood is working on. But let's get into the next part of the conversation here, which comes from Anthony C. And I think Lord Acquisition, he has a question for you. Howdy, Dukes. With CD Projekt Red being a very large company at this point, with several projects in development, by the way, one thing they did mention in this investors video was they have over 1,000 employees, around 1,200, I believe was the exact number, with 700 developers. So important number to keep in mind with this question here. Is it time for some Lord acquisition discussions? Their stock price is still much lower than it was before Cyberpunk, but the public opinion seems to be shifting in their favor as of late. Should this be who Microsoft targets after the ABK deal? Their catalog would certainly fit in with the rest of Xbox game studios, in my opinion. Keep up the great work and have a Overwatch 2 launched and immediately got cyber attacked kind of day. Now, Cog, I want to direct this question towards you because you are Lord Acquisition. The only thing that I'm really going to throw in there is I think maybe I got a little overzealous with the Game Pass declaration. I was saying, like, y'all are struggling. Go put it on Game Pass. You got to do this. Seeing the results here of sticking with it and respecting, by the way, that they knew what they had and letting it ride its course, letting the anime do its thing, seeing what happens afterwards. I don't know if they necessarily need to sell off, and I don't know if maybe they're right. They didn't need the Game Pass deal. It's not the right time. I think it could have been some good PR at the moment they were in, but now where we are with the game where it's better than it's ever been, the IP is better than it's ever been. If they were to have done Game Pass, it may have been a sign of weakness and desperation, although I think the $10 price tag may have been more damning. But I don't know if, based off what I'm seeing here, they necessarily need to sell off. Certainly, they could be set up where a purchaser, a suitor, could come in and say, oh, look at all these games you're making. We know what's going to happen for the next decade plus. That is a great benefit to have because guess who did this before their acquisition? Bethesda. They did that. So I think there's a fair argument on either side, but you, my friend, are Lord Acquisition. So I would love to hear your thoughts on where you think things could go with CD Projekt Red.
I gotta be careful because what I'm about to say is unsubstantiated, and I don't have any trust in this particular source. But people have been in my line about CDPR for a long time.
Yeah, it's not the first time I've heard that either.
Yeah, for a long time. They'd be like, yo, Cog, I'm telling you. And I'm like, I don't know if I can trust you. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? In particular, you know what I'm saying? Certain sources, yeah, I'm like, no doubt. But yeah, I've heard news about them for a while, that, they're getting themselves real sexy, getting all done up, getting nice, so putting on their Sunday's best and all that. I will agree with you that this call was, the timing is interesting. It's a positive upbeat right now. Now you're putting out your future plans for, what you plan to do. There would be an attractive get to either PlayStation or Xbox.
Whoever gets them would be, wow, be a really smart get.
And I believe don't they have the GOG thing too going on?
GOG, you got a global teams there, Vancouver, Boston now,
Polish developer, course, So you got that region. Look, you would control the Witcher franchise. That's huge. You toss a coin to your Witcher. That's the joint now, right? Mm-hmm. The Netflix joint is popping. Look, it is there. I'm gonna say with Microsoft, not that I'd be mad if it happened. I don't think they both need to do it. I think CDPR can survive on their own.
I agree.
And listen, you coming from Lord Acquisition. Am I gonna be mad that it happened? No, but I think CDPR, I'm fine with them. Doing as long as they're financially stable, do what you got to do. I will say though, I'm gonna double back on my Game Pass thing in the sense that yes, they were right to not listen to me and take the bag from a position of weakness. I will admit I was wrong there, but I still say, what is it called? Phantom Liberty? What is it called?
Yeah, Phantom Liberty. Yep.
I always butcher that. Phantom Liberty is a nice bag to take, in my opinion. You've already got the public
game out there, and then the expansion you buy. Yeah, I think.
Yes, it would be a nice little Game Pass get. You say, boom, expansion in there. We're back, and I think Microsoft has the marketing deal with them too on CDPR with Cyberpunk 2020.
They did at least, yeah.
Yeah, they did, right? So, re-up, take a bag there, and I think they're fine on it. To me, and if I'm Microsoft, look, we already got a nice relationship. Let's keep it where it's at. You still need a Japanese publisher. Mm-hmm. You need to be in that region.
And PlayStation, it's not a bad thing to have either.
No question, but we ain't gonna act like Playground don't exist.
Yeah. No, you're totally
right.
We have connections out there.
We got some connect. We could maneuver,
Yeah.
right? What we don't got is that region that Jim Ryan left.
Yeah.
Jim Ryan has taken his bags and going to the EU. There's a void, and now we got a console that actually people like, the Series S. People like, little man. Like, well, let's go. Let's go, Sarah Bond. Let's go, Phil. Put your Wolong level flag down there and go and establish the region. Many have died before you, but you could be the first. That's where I'm at. But CDPR, I'm going to surprise the people that don't like my Lord Acquisition talk. I am comfortable with CDPR staying as they are.
I agree. Absolutely well said from Lord Acquisition. Now we move on to our fifth and final story here. Coming soon to Xbox Game Pass. We got some drops for you. October 4th, so by the time you're already listening to this, it's out. Chivalry 2, console, PC, cloud. Again, by the time you're listening to this, October 6th, we have a plethora of games. Newly announced Medieval Dynasty on series consoles, X and S. No PC, no cloud, none of that. The Walking Dead, the complete first season, comes to PC Game Pass. The Walking Dead Season 2 comes to PC Game Pass. Costume Quest on October 11th, console and cloud. Evil comes to Game Pass on console and PC October 11th. The Dyson Sphere program, this game looked awesome, by the way. PC Game Pass October 13th. Then some big ones. Scorn, October 14th, day one on Game Pass, Series X, S, PC, and cloud. And then A Plague Tale Requiem, October 18th, Series X, Series S, PC, and cloud. Leaving Xbox Game Pass on October 15th, Bloodroots, Echo Generation, Into the Pit, Ring of Pain, Sable, and The Good Life. Cog, any standouts for you here? I may know your answer.
I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, you know that tail. The tail is coming.
The tail is coming.
The tails are coming. You know, rat physics. Let's go. You know, yeah. This is a solid month. This is a solid month, man.
Yeah.
It's going up in there. You know, you get to check that out from a PC brethren. If you have not played Walking Dead, this is a treat. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then, you know, we're going to talk about one of the games in there as well. I'm going to talk about that in depth. And I've heard some things about Medieval Dynasty. Now, this is a solid, I want to give Game Pass some credit. Like, for a year that was really looking bleak after two major games leave from Bethesda, I think they're doing a solid job, man, the last couple of months of really, there's stuff to play. Like, people keep saying to get, like, bro, I got tons of stuff to play.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I want to give them credit, man. Game Pass is keeping them afloat. It really is. So that's where I'm at with it. Anyone in particular for you?
Yeah, I mean, just to jump off your point there, I mean, I still have Proteus and Moonscars and Slime Rancher 2 to check out. Bro. All of these are day one, and now we're about to get Scorn, Plague Tale, Dyson Sphere, et cetera, Medieval Dynasty. I mean, a lot of great stuff here. I think Medieval Dynasty may have been on PC, but this is a console day one. But I'm not 100% sure. Point being, though, is, yeah, there's just so much here. It's tough to keep up with, and all of it looks really good. I like their focus, though, based off what we've heard with Scorn and what I've read about Proteus and some of these games out here. Plague Tale even falls in this category of, I won't say bite-sized because these are full-fledged games, but digestible. Like the library is intimidating, but knowing that there's a lot of 6 to 8 hours, or in the case of Plague Tale Requiem, they're saying 15 to 18 hour experiences. Like, okay, we have it all right here, and you can play it and beat it within a week and move on to your next game. To me, that stuff is great. Just as great as my webcam this episode, it would seem. Do I go for it again? I'll go for it again.
You'll go for it again. Tell you, we put the timestamp. Let them know, right?
Yeah, of course. Let's see.
Of course. Go for it again. Go for it again, because I need your reactions.
Of course. But in the meantime, we have the Game Pass pick of the week. I'm back again. This has just been a really entertaining watch for our video listeners and viewers. Cog, you handled it this week. What is your selection, sir?
One thing about me is, like, obviously Iron Lords, the name, it means everything. That's right. With Lords, the medieval vibe, you know what I'm saying? I got my Kingdom Come Deliverance shirt on, respect Warhorse. But there is a game that when I heard about it, I was like, this game is for me. It is the epitome of, I don't want to say foolishness, but you ever watch like the movies like Braveheart, and, you know, I watch movies like Spartacus.
Right.
and they were on the, you got those epic scenes, Game of Thrones, the Battle of the Bastards, right? And there's one crew, a whole army, right? And they got the other crew, their whole army, and there's these strong statements. This was the battle where such and such fell, and for our brothers, and there's these emotional speeches, right? And you get it, and there's a part of me that feels like those are the most gangster individuals. Like if you lived in that time and you saw a whole nation of people, you believe in what you believe in. If you're willing to go hands and feet, spears and swords to the death and just charge into the center of like, this is Chivalry 2, y'all. Chivalry 2 puts you into these fictitious battles. The great battle of the siege of Reberfeld. Bro, these things are made up, right? There's no historical context. Then the game does not take itself seriously. The game be like,
isn't it really gory too? Like it's almost.
Oh my God, it's so gory.
Okay, sorry, go on.
No, you're right. The game is beautiful. I think it's unreal. I don't quote me. I should have did my research on this part.
I'll check.
I believe it's this. Please do, because this game is absolutely beautiful. And it's the play account now. Negative. Let me get the negative out the way.
It is Unreal Engine.
Yeah, I do. Bro, this screams Unreal. This is a beautiful looking game. Big character sprites. You're running around. Now, to put the negative out, this is really a multiplayer only game. You can play single player, right? And the thing about it is when you die, you spawn also on someone else on the battlefield and you come in. The cool thing about it, the hand-to-hand combat, you got the knives, you got the long sword, you got the axe and shield. You could play they got the different kind of character classes. They got your arrow guys that stay in the back. But where the game is dope, Maddie, is they add a narrative aspect to multiplayer play, right? So you go in there and first you be like, all right, seize the castle, right? So then you're running towards the castle. They're coming towards you. You're killing people. Then you got to try to put your ladders on top of the castle. It's literally the epitome of seize them. Like, I like when people yell that out in battle. I think it's the funniest thing ever. And the game knows it and doesn't take itself serious. You can do battle cries of foolishness. Yeah, I don't know why I'm yelling, but I'm yelling. Like, the game is just stupid. Then the other thing is, like, they be like, okay, they give you these mini objectives while the battle is going. Okay, push the trebuchets closer, and then the other group got to stop you from doing that. And there's like a meeting, there's like a push pull, and there's like seize the town square, and then it's a story. It's a cinematic story of multiplayer until you get into the castle gate. Sometimes it's defend the king. But the funniest thing, I think this is hilarious. Whoever wins, right? The winning side, they be like, all right. Pillage the village. And then it'd be like peasants and people, these NPCs that can't fight, and you literally out there murdering their Maddie, this is the most hilarious game. Graphically dope. And now they cut a huge update. I think it's called, what is it? The reinforced content update now on Game Pass. When I played this game, I was like, Game Pass better get this game. This is the ultimate fun with friends. And like now they got mounted
videos with it.
Bro, they got horseback now. I can really get my horseback on with the spear and chase people down and do all this stuff. It is the most fun. When Lords, we streamed this game, we had so much fun yelling at each other and saying craziness. And then the last thing, the only thing they got to do though, Chivalry, I need to be able to pick they got the cross-play, but I need to be able to pick and create my lobbies and they're working on another update because they said they would have launched it with this, but I just want to be able to have my PC brothers, my PlayStation brothers, all of us, I can pick and choose the team I want to play with. But I'm telling you right now, graphic fidelity, fun, gore, absolutely hilarious. Chivalry 2 is a must play. Nice. I love this game, and they keep updating it, Maddie. It is really good.
I love that. That's a really good pick. I have yet to play it, so I don't have anything to necessarily add, but I do want to try it now.
Yes. Seize them.
Add it to the list.
Stop the cancel doors. It's that type of game. It's fun as hell.
I love that. Let's move on to our final questions of this show. SFish616 writes in, hey, Dukes. With Motive finally showing off Dead Space remake gameplay for the first time, it looks great, I think. We have finally come full circle with how Motive showed off bit by bit over the course of a little under 2 years. With all the news about leaks and specifically with GTA 6, I think Motive and EA deserve credit for giving the community small tastes and being open with them. I think a lot of publishers can take notes of how showing off small updates can help suffice fans. I really think Xbox would benefit a lot from this approach with all the games they announced. I understand that means that fans can be dumbasses and not realize what in development footage looks like. But I think if Xbox's first party teams would start doing small live streams every couple of months and give small updates, it would help the overall morale of Xbox fans. Just wanted your thoughts on this. Thanks and have a great day, Steven. I thought this was an interesting writing, Cog. Of course, Steven's thoughts are great here, but also we are in a bit of the old school mentality where you put it all on the line, almost wrestling style. You put it all on the line for the big pop, right? You want the big pop. But it's not the little things here, which I'm surprised of all companies, EA is the one who did it. But EA is not necessarily afraid of showing early access anything. I think of when they showed off what is now Dragon Age Dreadwolf, and it was literally wireframe gameplay and Frostbite. And I went, no, 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 put that thing away. There are children here. We do not need to see this right now. So we do not need to see that thing, man. So I like that they were transparent about things. I like that they allowed fans to have input. They showed, I remember, a before and after with the audio for the development, and fans had input on that should be a little more punchy. It should sound a little more like this. And they went back and they did improve it. So there was an almost communal feel to the development of Dead Space Remake, which is interesting because Motive's one of the bigger studios underneath EA. But what do you think about where we could go in the terms of reveals with games and development footage? Because I think at one point you got to rip the Band-Aid off, right? Like the illusion has to go that these games are beautiful from day one. And I think the way we push through that is muscling our way into education, just letting people know this is how it looks early on, not in the happenstance of GTA 6, like, oh, whoops, it's all over the place. And look, by the way, this is how an early game looks. Genuine communication between developer and fans, because I haven't seen anyone go, Dead Space looks like shit. That's the one thing I didn't hear, right? I think, again, it's because they were transparent, they communicated, and they educated in that process. I feel like there is a possibility there, but I'm curious as to what you think, because certainly there are games that are about to release and they get a bit of a Craig face going on.
Look, man. Oh, this is a good question. Shout out to Fish. I think I've turned on my gaming brothers. I don't like them anymore right now. I just don't like it, Maddie. Like, look, people like Cogway Corporate. Maybe I did. Maybe I see too much behind the scene now. I just don't like the disrespect, and I don't like when people who don't know about game development tell developers what they should and should not be doing with absolutes, as if they know all the thing. And look, I'm with Fish on one standpoint where it's like, look, as a gamer, do we like to see information, get to know a little bit more? Yes, right. I will bend the knee on this part. I do feel for Xbox per se, with now all these potential acquisitions, that they do need more shows, and we've talked about it, right? We talked about that. You've got the Bethesdas, a whole the ZeniMax, a whole lineup of studios. You're gonna have most likely the Activision Blizzard King, whole lineup of studios. It would be cool to get updates, or shows, right? But there's a part of me, man. You show something too early and these gamers will meme you, they will clown you, and they use it for the console war ammunition. And it's just like, I'd rather wait till you ready at your best to show, you know what I'm saying? Because the worst thing, like, could you, again, we talked about this before. Like, could you imagine the greatest games of all time that we consider now, before the Twitter era, before that, and they leaked the old Mass Effect image and it didn't look right? Shepard had a crazy look. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could really go bad for you. And then they start attacking the devs, and it's just like, that's the thing, man. So part of me is just like, I'd rather wait. I don't mind what Xbox Game Studios is doing for like some of, even Compulsion's game, which I'm dying to know about, right? There's a lot of projects I'm dying to know about. But don't show that joint till you're ready. Because if you come out there and there's anything off, these dudes will Photoshop the fruit bowl in the back and be like, oh, this is what the devs are doing. What the hell? And bro, they wild disrespectful.
Yeah,
so, like,
I get what you're saying.
Oh, like, it just, so part of me is like, I've always loved the format of this. I'm cool with your vertical slice for the first time. Just give me a little vertical slice at first. So what you think? I think State of Decay did one already. Okay, cool. Fable did one. Okay, cool. At that point, unless you ready, unless you, I put it on the day, unless you, like, shout out to Ninja Theory. Oh, they ready. They like, no. You want to see where we at?
Yeah.
This where we at. Because the chess is out. They know. Unless you feel that way, by all means, knock yourself out. But rule of thumb, unless you don't, if you ain't that way, keep that joint until it's ready. Yeah. That's just my thought. But where you at?
No, I completely agree in a lot of instances. I just think, again, we need to educate further, and sometimes that comes through exposure. I also share the mindset that not everyone agrees with, which is like, I don't think social media is real life, essentially. Like, I know it's a very key component to marketing, and it is important we manage that stuff. But at the same time, I feel like when we continue to appease the kind of mouth breathers that are out there, we're just going to get that in return. So we need to start pushing past, elevating the conversation, in turn elevating the industry. At least that's what I personally hope for. But we will see in due time if this is an approach that EA adopts for future games. I think it's a little easier to do with a remake because you have the example there, right? You're not talking about like Dead Space when it was first come out in 2008. This is a very much inspired effort built up the back of Resident Evil 4 where dismemberment's key. And if that's not in place and it's not working how it should, then I can see the hesitation. So maybe it's easier with something like a remake. A brand new IP, that big pop mentality, I still can get behind a little bit, but I seesaw on it a bit. It just, to me, feels as if we need to find ways from those at the top, by the way, to move this conversation forward. I know for them it's about selling games, but I think if more people understand what they're looking at, the conversation can go to, it looks like this early in development, instead of, what we get now, which is just, it looks like shit. Everything looks like shit.
I feel. It's a tough one. Yeah. Tough business.
Plus, we don't want to wait long, right? That's the thing that hurts games. Again, there's so many reasons for both sides not to play the neutral party here. Descent21 writes in saying, disclaimer, this is a long one, so I apologize and understand that it might not get used. Now, Descent, I want to say that this is considered a typical write-in for LSM, by the way. This is just a 2-3 paragraph write-in, nothing crazy at all. But I also am a little bit more flexible with people who write in for a long time. If it's a good write-in, that's all there is to it. He writes, there's a phrase used in addiction counseling called playing the tape through. I wonder if you guys have attempted to do so on the podcast. For example, let's say Xbox puts Game Pass everywhere except PlayStation and forces PlayStation's fan base to bend the knee. He says, as Maddie likes to say, but this is your phrase, right? He says, not really sure how that's applicable here, but I digress. This would inevitably cause the PlayStation brand to fail. Here's the end of the tape. What kind of gaming landscape do we find ourselves in then? It would undoubtedly be one in which Microsoft is by far the dominant force, and PlayStation and their studios would be gone. Do they get absorbed by Microsoft? Do all of Sony's Japanese partners default to Nintendo? Or do they also move to Microsoft's side? Do you two personally want to live in a world without PlayStation? Or would you rather have both companies maintain their strength for decades to come? I think I know part of your answer, Cog, but please, if you'd like to get us started.
It's a great question. I have this. This is the great battle that me and King David have. This is what we go through all the time. King is very matter of fact. He's predicting this will be the last PlayStation. He's going on his rants. He ain't playing no games. He's out for blood. That's it. There's no mercy for him. He wants them to absorb Sony and them to make games, and that's where he at, right? And my thing is, I disagree. My thing is, I feel like, look, to Desant's question about this future in which PlayStation is kind of have to bend the knee and then get absorbed by Game Pass. I think the Game Pass situation is a beautiful thing because it's going to force them to compete in a different way. Because if the market adjusts to where I think it's going to go, then yes, Microsoft is well suited and better prepared in that space. I also agree with Colin in the sense that I don't think that Microsoft just wants you to have, they don't want to absorb, they want you to have Game Pass. Remember the statement, we will put our games on places that Game Pass exists. And Colin feels that he thinks if PlayStation goes down, they will bend the knee and have a curated version of it. And I think if it gets that level, then yeah, I think that's when PlayStation maybe in a more dire strait where they're a little, I say dire strait, but they're in a lesser position where they're more willing to talk about, right? Because right now they're not in that position. They're doing well. They're fine for the most part. And I don't think they find that value. But if Microsoft continues to get more dominant in that space, this is what I say. I still think it's a good thing. Competition is a good thing. They're being competitive in a space no one has really carved out yet, and they have carved out on their own, which is Xbox, right? They've changed the rules. They're like, okay, you guys can dominate the hardware, console, retail model. You guys got that. We're doing this. We're doing cloud. We're doing play our thing anywhere, right? If the market goes there and they bet right, then Sony's going to have to adjust, right? And if Sony has to adjust, then we will get competition in the new space. And that's all I'm talking about. So I don't want a world personally where PlayStation goes away, because my feeling is then Xbox could then get complacent, right? And if Xbox gets complacent and they get arrogant and whatever, and they start doing practices that I don't like, right? Because we just ripped PlayStation. Let's be real. We just went in on PlayStation for all these remasters and regurgitation and price hiking and all that stuff, right? If the market then says to PlayStation, yo, that ain't it, we go in here, guess what PlayStation going to have to stop doing? You know what I'm saying? So I'm all about it. Like, to me, yeah, you need each other. It's checks and balances. I just think it's like, it's just the way of the world. I think it's very hard. Even Sony said this. It's very hard to repeat. You know what I'm saying? As champion, it just, you get complacent. So that's where I'm at with it. I don't want PlayStation to go away. I mean, if they did go away, to his question, he said, do they get absorbed by Microsoft? Do Sony? I think Microsoft would allow them to put Game Pass on. They probably accept. Or, yeah, maybe a world. It would be weird to see Nintendo and Sony come back together. I will say this. I think if it gets dire for PlayStation, look for somebody to swoop in, though. I don't think they're going out like that. I think they'll be like, yo, Apple.
Yeah, a team partnership. Yeah.
Disney.
Yeah.
Like, we need to fight them. Let's merge up. And then they, have the transform a little combiner. They merge up. And now it's the Sony Disney station. You know what I'm saying? And now what, Microsoft? Like, then it's all, I like that. I see, Lord Acquisition don't got a problem. Because it's like, okay, you're about to go under. You still have value to the space. You've got a bigger brother now that got the pocket to bankroll. Now you could go head to head with Microsoft with that big check. All right, big check. Now we got big check. What's up? Let's go. And I ain't got no problem with that. See? So that's where I'm at. I just think ultimately that's probably what most likely happened. I think Sony still has, they would have to make cataclysmic errors to really just get up out of here. I know they having a lot of Xbox One energy with this generation, though. I'm going to be honest, a lot of Xbox One messaging energy. But I don't think it's enough right now to get them out of here just yet. So that's what I mean.
Yeah, I don't think, because at the end of the day, to answer Desant's question, I don't think they're going anywhere, because despite our complaining here, PlayStation is still like the 5 is the number one selling console in the terms of the new ones that have come out. Their games are selling well. They're popular. They're putting out shows tied to their games. The Last of Us show looks great. I'm sure they'll boost the popularity of the franchise. That'll be great for when Factions comes out, which is going to, without a doubt, be this kind of service style game. Maybe have some.
You heard about the live service comment they just made. Not to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, of course, cool. Exactly. So
day and date with live service.
Exactly. So it's it's clearly that they're putting things together where they're going to continue to make money. They are a profitable company. It's just that in the case of Microsoft, if they were to get rid of Xbox, it would be a loss, but it wouldn't be a cratering loss. Whereas Sony relies a lot on the PlayStation brand to generate that bread. So it's much more valuable to them. And I think because of that, and they almost have to fight because they have something to lose, it's why you saw a very complacent Microsoft stroll into the space in the Xbox One gen, even though they had a successful 360 gen, but then you see the ups and downs of different types of leaderships and what it can do to an overall brand. I just think PlayStation has such loyal fans. Like, I think Xbox has loyal fans, but I jumped ship. I went to PS4. I went, all right, see ya. The games were great in 2013 and 14, but okay, see ya.
Bro,
a lot of us did. The splits were 2-1. So I think the same could happen here. But I also got to say, I think PlayStation fans are fiercely loyal. I don't know
Yes.
what it is. Look, one of my favorite consoles of all time is the PS2, but if the games aren't there, that's why PS4 gen started. I was over at Xbox One. Dead Rising 3 looked good. Killer
Hmm.
Instinct was popping. That game is
Oh
still
yeah.
incredible, so on and so forth.
Mhm.
But I don't want to live in a world without PlayStation. We've never indicated that. I don't think DeSantis is saying that. But if there was any indication, hell no. They make
Correct.
amazing games. They made my favorite
Absolutely.
handheld next to my Game Boy
Preach.
Advance. Like they
My
do cool
favorite
stuff.
fighting game.
The thing is that I could live in a world without a creative PlayStation, ambitious, thoughtful PlayStation, because that's what they are right now. I could do without the shit they're doing right now, and the industry would be better without it. But that doesn't contaminate my entire view of them, which is when they're on their A game, they're fucking tough to top. And
Well,
so at the end of the day, I don't want to see them merge with anyone. I want them to be strong on their own. And I don't think there's any threat to their existence. I don't think Call of Duty.
Jim
Yeah,
feels otherwise though.
yeah, right. But I think you hit the nail on the head, which is, again, that they're going to weaponize that weakness and get what they can from it. I think that was perfectly put. Where that was probably one of the best conversations we've had in this show's history. Like that back and forth there. I think we
He's good.
perfectly painted a picture of what's actually going on in this situation and what makes our show special. But at the end of the day, I just think when you look at what's happening here, even if you were to pull out that Activision rug, that Call of Duty money, they will still be fine. They will still be able to invest because, again, time is a big factor here. And when their live service games are up and running, provided they're successful, and they have Destiny. I can't believe we forgot to bring
Oh.
that up, but they get Destiny
Hmm.
2 money. That's a lot of money,
Hmm.
man, that we just don't
Hmm.
talk about because Call of Duty's the bigger one. Like, they are not in this weakened position. They have just conditioned people to believe that is the case. And this is why I
Hmm.
talk about fierce loyalty from their fans, because that's what it is here. They're like, oh
Hmm.
man, Xbox is taking them out. They're gutting them out back, right? No, they're not. They're
So many
not.
things they could do.
But I digress. That's just my stance on
Yeah,
things
no,
here.
I agree. Last point I'll say is, could you imagine? All they need is one of those live service games to hit,
Just watch what
and
happens
they,
when God of War launches, man. Forget the live service. Watch when God of War launches.
bro.
It'll be reviewed spectacularly. People will love it. It will sell
Hmm.
amazing. That'll be it. There's no worries about
Facts.
PlayStation going anywhere.
Sitting on factions, sitting on SOCOM, sitting on a new IP that they create in the live service space. Listen, it's like you said, fierce loyalty, high quality game content. Once they put out, they change the zeitgeist, right? So I'm not worried about them per se. It's just that I am worried that if the philosophy changes to the stuff that you hate, which is it's the majority remaster stuff,
Yeah, that would
then it's
be.
like,
Yeah,
fam,
because if it's
yeah.
not, if they were to do Sly Cooper remake, now, of course, that's probably a bad example because I love Sly Cooper, but that's been gone long enough. Those games are made on PS2, the latest one on PS3, where if you were to go back, take the first one and do a Sly Cooper remake, I'm for that. That's a remake I can get behind. A
Yeah,
Jack and
Bloodborne
Daxter
remake.
remake, I can go for that. Because Jack 2 and Jack 3 are completely different style games from what you play in Jack and Daxter and the precursor, whatever it is. The completely different style game. So to me, like that remake remaster era from PlayStation would be great. Because one thing they
Hell
did that
yeah.
was fire that we never talk about, they were the pioneers of the trilogy remasters on the PS3, man. I've collected all of
Yes.
them. I love the cases for them, but they made an Infamous collection, a God of War
Mm.
saga collection. They made the Sly Cooper collection, Ratchet and Clank collection. The list goes on, man. They made collections for everything, bringing everything forward. Like that was fun because you were taking these good looking PS2 games and letting them shine on older or newer hardware, like having the cell shading of Sly Cooper be really brushed up, cleaned up. That game looks beautiful, right? So to me,
Hmm.
man, like I want not maybe that remaster PlayStation because that was during a
Right.
pocket in the industry where you could do that
Right.
stuff and it was fun to see it come back. It was new. But if they were to start remaking stuff on that level, start doing new things with the old IP, I think that's
Hell
their
yeah.
their ace up their sleeve, which you were kind of touching on a bit, like when you mentioned SOCOM and so on. They
Yeah.
have answers that they just have yet to tap into. So if they were to go down, they'll go down swinging, which I
Oh,
doubt
for
will
sure.
happen.
For sure. 100%.
Last write in the show comes from Fink Miser. Howdy, Dukes. This week we learned that the core developers of Disco Elysium were involuntarily forced out of, I don't know how to pronounce their studio name, but I'm going to say Zaum. I know it's like Russian or something, so someone can correct me in the next show. But they were forced out of Zaum Studio, which they founded. The losses included the game designer, writer, and art director. I'm worried any future products from Zaum Studios will be coasting off name recognition of Disco Elysium, but lack any of the soul that made the game so beloved. Have a your dog chewed up your new controller kind of day. Cog, you played Disco Elysium. You really championed this game on the show. How do you feel about game designer, writer for a game like Disco Elysium? That's huge. Art director. It's a very unique kind of watercolor style. What do you think about these big wigs leaving the company and seemingly they were forced out?
This hurts. This hurts. This really bothers me. I love that game. That game is I tell you, like this year has been in the indie gems for me. In the last 2 years, indie I found more joy in the indies to be outside of yes, I play my Destiny, but indie games are where I found my most happiness, and that's still when I go cover these shows. I have the most joy talking to an indie developer for the first time, telling me about his new project or her new project. This bothers me. Like Disco Elysium is such a unique game. It's such a character game. It's such a art style, storytelling, just masterpiece. And for you to tell me that the game designer, the writer, and the art director have been forced out, why? What is the explanation to why the creators of this masterpiece? Because let's be clear, these are the creators, right? These are the people who actually put in the blood, sweat, and tears. Please explain to me why they can't remain. Mm-hmm. I just need an answer. I think the fans need an answer, especially for this franchise that is beloved. You know, I can't think of one. You know, you have to tell me, were they sabotaging? Were they doing something that was against company guidelines that they had to be forced out? Were they smuggling? Please explain to me so that I can rationalize to myself, okay, you know what? Nah, they got to go because they did this foul thing, right? Until that comes out, I'm going to lead to believe that this is just a bad decision. And, you know, it's a shame. It's a shame. You know, sometimes we don't get to see what's going on behind the scenes back in the past. And sometimes you wonder when the sequel to a game that you loved is so drastically different and lost its soul. Maybe some of these are the reasons and stories that come out. You know, it's unfortunate. I'm not wishing anything bad for anyone who still remains. But to lose this amount, it kind of reminds me a little bit on a smaller scale of, I told you, Phantom Doctrine is one of my little cult favorites. And I heard what was going on internally there. And now they left it. Now they're doing their own thing. It's just like, It sucks. It sucks, man. I'm always about the developers getting what they want. And yeah, I don't. It's just sad. It's very sad to me. I don't like this one at all. So I'm gonna try to do my due diligence. In fairness, I'm always fair. Mm-hmm. I want to see what actually happened before I go all the way off the cuff. But don't like it. My initial feel. Don't like it at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've reached out to Martin Luiga about this just to see. This is the person who posted on the Medium about the dissolving of what they call the Zaum, we'll again call it that. I apologize if I'm butchering the name here, Cultural Association. And it's there that they do reveal that these people were pushed out. So I've reached out to him to see if maybe he wants to talk on DDU about this, go into a little bit more detail, see if we can investigate a bit further.
Do you see the statement about stealing?
No, what was that?
From Luiga? Yeah, so pretty much Luiga, what do you see? He's Disco, he's in Luiga's. Like, let's see who Luiga is.
Says an editor for them.
Yeah, he's an editor on that. And he used an example of a kleptomaniac. And he goes, what he said, where's the key statement? I thought that was, imagine a kleptomaniac, if you will. Only, Luiga said, only that instead of stealing a lollipop, they take pains to manipulate dozens of people to steal, and in the end from themselves, just because they happen to be very proficient in that kind of an operation. It's what they always do, really. One of them was the first guy to be convicted for investment fraud in Estonia. Like, this goes deep. This goes deep, man. Yeah, I'm dying to know what goes. This sounds really bad.
Yeah, pop the message over, so we should.
Yeah, hopefully we can get. That would be awesome to be able to talk.
Yeah, get some insight on that. But yeah, sad situation. Again, I can't sit here and talk about the game because I have yet to play it somehow.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, right? I was waiting for the Switch release. Now the Switch releases. I have no excuses. Now at this point I'm procrastinating. It's this and it's
No, but
Pillars of
bro, it's tons
Eternity.
of games.
This and
Yeah.
Pillars of Eternity, and I need to finish Trails. I just need to finish Trails.
No, do your thing, brother. You in your bed.
Trails and these reviews. But when it comes to what's happening here, when you lose the heart and soul, I'm learning more and more as I work on my own stuff that maintaining your core team when you've got something is obviously important. I don't think it takes anyone working in development to realize that, but being more intimate with the process, you really do recognize like the key pieces that you have, like what's your visual design going to look like? Losing that person who creates the visual distinction for your video game, that's huge. And a game that's so heavy on writing, right? It's all dialogue. Losing the person who helped put the pen to the paper and create the narrative style that you wish to deliver. Game design, fiercely under discussed in our industry. The people who make all the systems interconnect. And in an RPG, that is fucking hard to make it where you can do skill checks, you have multiple outcomes, and effectively coordinate that vision with the rest of the art director, with the, again, the writer, so on and so forth, everyone else on the team. Losing those key pieces, it's not irreplaceable, but someone comes in, they've got their own vision for things. Some changes may be made. It's very hard to come in, hit it in stride and go, oh yeah, I was fine with everything here. Because then why do they need you? Why do they need you if you came in and went, it looks good to me, right? You by default have to come in and make a meaningful change. Otherwise, your position in the company is meaningless because you came in and did what they could have done without spending the money on you. So it does say a lot here that they're losing key members. There seems to be a lot of beef beneath the surface here. Hopefully we can get some answers on our very own show, but otherwise we'll pay attention closely as this story does develop. But that's everything we have for this week's episode of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. I almost said an Ultimate podcast, which I mean it is, but hey, an Xbox Ultimate podcast. Anyway, Cog, it's hashtag time. I had some ideas, but I want to put it in your lap here because last week I know you were struggling a bit. You were like, man, I can't think of anything. Yeah. Do you have the answer this week?
We got Remake DD. Do we ever use that before?
That's a good one.
We got that. I know that's come up a lot.
I know we did. Did we ever do Brussels DD? That sounds familiar. I feel,
we have not.
I gotta check this on Twitter because I could have sworn we used Brussels for something else, but
I don't think so. I don't remember. Brussels sounds very distinct. Brussels.
Nah, we
DD.
don't. It's actually, no one's even tweeted hashtag Brussels DD ever.
Yes, ever. Well, yeah, we have that. You know, people took flights. You know,
Remake DD is completely vacant as well.
Yeah. What was the other one? You said you had other ones too.
I like Remake DD. That's where I was going.
I like Remake DD. Yeah, let's go Remake.
All right, you got this deep in the show. Let us know, whether it be on Twitter. I'm at G27status. That's at Lord Cognito. You can tag us. Let us know your thoughts on the episode. Use the hashtag RemakeDD so we know what episode you're talking about. Otherwise, if you're not into social media, YouTube comments work. Let us know you completed the episode. We always like to check. We're looking for you out there. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, take excellent care of yourselves. We'll see you next time for episode 93 of Defining Duke and Xbox Podcast. Peace out.
Peace.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Colin's Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.